Good evening, everybody. How's everybody on the USS Cuchulain? Welcome to the XO Chat Live. First of all, I want to thank David and Alan and Jono for joining me this evening. For today, we're going to be talking about how we got started. In this year of lockdown, a year and it's hard to believe, to be honest. And we've missed out on so many parties and movie nights and movie night, bowling nights, and the various different social activities that we used to do at the stage that we're at now. We have so many members, and we've really developed the social aspect of what the USS Cuchulain is and how much that means to us. But everything has a starting point, and the USS Cuchulain is very much had a very interesting starting point. Certainly, when it began, I wasn't the XO, and Alan wasn't the CO. So let's go to the original CO and ask him, what his inspiration was, how it went, and how we managed to get the USS Cuchulain up and running. So, David Chapman, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Cheers, Frank. Evening all. So yeah, it's hard to believe that the Cuchulain has kind of gotten where it is today, and knowing that we were going to have this chat this afternoon, I did a little bit of a trip down memory lane, and the origins of the Cuchulain, surprisingly, they started from boredom. A young chap who was bored, and also a big Star Trek fan. So, I always felt, back when I was younger than I am now, that I had this great love of Star Trek, and no one really to share it with. As I'm sure many people can imagine, growing up in a small rural Irish town, Star Trek isn't a major topic of conversation. So with the glory of the internet, I started looking for other fans and people to talk to kind of fill my evenings, because I was unemployed at the time. I was I think 19 years old at the time, back in 2012, and so I just got on Facebook and other sort of social media outlets, started connecting with other interested people, and the idea of forming a group kind of came into my head, because I felt like the Irish side of things was pretty much underrepresented, because at the time there wasn't a Star Trek fan club. So I started looking and trying to gain some interest. And I think while I was doing that, Starfleet International sort of popped up on the internet, and I started looking into that, and a global organization with Star Trek fans, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So I got in contact, and I found out, okay, well, Ireland's on the list. It's under Region 20, and there's no chapters there. So I thought, right, well, there is this big organization of like-minded people, and they, have their regions and their chapters. And I started talking to various members at the time, and expressed my interest in starting something. And that was actually still in 2012. I think it was, by the time I got in contact with SFI, it was probably March, April of 2012. And through various social media sites, I had made a few contacts of people in and around Ireland. I think some members in Dublin, some people in Cork that were interested. But I just couldn't get the traction needed to really get things off the ground. And it kind of, it fell by the wayside a little bit. I wasn't getting people responding to me, and just the enthusiasm wasn't there among the small group we had at the time. Which as all you guys are aware, you really need that sort of that community effort to get something like this running. So it basically fell by the wayside, and in January of 2013, I thought, right, no, I'll give it another go, and I sort of reached out to SFI again to I think it was Richard Sam was still the RC. I mean that's showing you how far back Richard's going at a regional level. He was still involved back, 8 years ago. So I said, listen, I'm still interested in making this happen. And they were very supportive. The regional staff were very supportive, and absolutely wanted to get a sort of an Irish chapter up and running. And it was around that time that Alan O'Shea's name popped up, and I was told that there is another member of SFI who joined the fold, if you like, and also expressed an interest in starting sort of an Irish-based chapter. And I think, if I remember correctly, you were looking at sort of a Belfast chapter up north, and you were, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will, but I think at the time you were the JAG officer on the Ark Royal. Is that right?
That's right. The Ark Royal is the former predecessor of the current USS Merlin. Forgive me, Richard, if I got that wrong. That was the former USS Merlin.
Yeah, I actually, as I said, I took a bit of a trip down memory lane, and I found the first email communication I had with Alan, and that was a blast from the past, I can tell you. And yeah, that was really. Yeah, it's in the unofficial records, Alan. But yeah, from there, that's where it really took off, because having someone, who was also, so passionate about really getting something up and running. And we did have the option when we were in the initial time of creating the chapter of doing it as a correspondence chapter, as many chapters do, and they do it quite successfully. And I think, the current situation we're in, we can see, how successful that can be. But we were always of the same mindset that we wanted the Cuchulain to have this kind of this is like a fan club feel, a real social aspect to it, where we go as a group and do things together. And I think we've been very successful in that. So yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking at the time, and how it kind of came into being. We had to go through a number of different stages that every SFI chapter has to go through. So we started off by making sure myself and Alan had our relevant exams done, like the OTS and the Officer Command College and such. We managed to pass those by the skin of our teeth, and sent off our VRR, which is the vehicle registration request, where we told them we wanted to name Cuchulain and we wanted to be a Sabre class, because back in them days we were still a small little Sabre ship, and we only we had to expand at some stage, because we quickly outgrew that.
Overclass.
Yeah.
Well, at this stage now we probably need a Galaxy class with
yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe. Geez, 2012, 8 years.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe we're going for 8 years.
I have it in my notes here. So just some dates of interest, if anyone was so interested, is the 6th of February 2013 is when we initially submitted our VRR request, and we became a Shakedown chapter. So sort of a chapter in training, if you like, with the prefix of NX. So that was 6th February 2013, and on the 6th of November 2013, we became a fully commissioned Sabre class chapter of SFI. What a day that was, because it was the culmination of months of hard work, and not just myself and yourself, Alan and Frank, but everybody who was with us at those really early stages. I
think when you talk about those early stages, for me, the genesis, the real beginning of what the Cuchulain is now, is a meeting in Easton's Cafe. Having a cup of coffee with yourself, Alan, Aidan, and the captain's woman. She was there as well. We were basically going.
Kill you, Frank. She's going to kill you.
We were basically going talking and saying like, what do we want this to be? Because there was chapters out there. I was pretty new into it at this stage. Alan, had brought me in, and we were looking at it, and as you said, David, we wanted it to be more than just say a Facebook page or or whatever, MySpace or Bebo, whatever it was people were using back in 2012 or 2013, but we wanted it to be more than that. And that's when we had that meeting in Easton's. We were talking about how we could make it more of a social club for fans rather than just correspondence and all of that, but so at that point then you brought Alan into it, and Alan, who was our mothership at that stage? Who brought us through the Shakedown? I can't quite recall. Was it the Ark Royal?
No, I don't think it was the Ark Royal. I can't even remember. The VAR. We'd have to check that doc. I should have had a look before I came online. That's something to check on. It'll be on that. We had part of nearly a year of Shakedown before we were commissioned, and when we were commissioned, then a couple of months later on, we had the opportunity to go to. Do you remember, Frank, Trichology in April of March?
Absolutely,
of 2014, and Dan Adams was in office then at that stage, and he came online and he presented us with our actual commissioning certificates in person at that particular time, which was a great thing to see as well.
That was a fun event, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gareth Wang and Chase Masterson.
That's right. That's right. And a great weekend there, mingling with the stars and seeing probably for the first time, some of the wider Region 20 members as well, because some of those guys are there too.
Yeah, well,
just looking at very quickly, it was the USS Isaac who was our support ship at the time.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think their CO and XO emigrated to New Zealand, maybe. I think if memory serves.
Yeah. Angie Smith was the CO of the Isaac.
Yep, that's her.
And I believe she emigrated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. So, Alan, you got involved in it then. At that stage, you were the XO, and you had been looking, as David said earlier, to maybe set something up in Belfast. But then, David was working away in secret there in Tipperary, and managed to get things up and running. You came on board then, and you were the XO, and you said, like, okay, let's get this thing going. Who can I get as a second officer, or what can we do to get things moving, or where can we go? And so what for you was the main target to get things rolling? Like, the two of you that come on board now, you got it set up. We were an XO. What for you was
the main target at that early stage was, as David will attest to, was getting your first 10 members for commissioning. Once you got your first 10 members, that's given for every new chapter that's launched in SFI. You must have 10 members, and then anything over and above that is a winner. So that was the first target.
An NCC, is it?
Yeah. So we get changed then from NX, and for really fully commissioned chapter, then you become NTC.
Yeah, because it wasn't applied for to be an NX. And then
so initially you have to have 5 SFI members to be able to submit your VR and your application to become a chapter. And then during your 9-month shakedown period, as they call it, you then have to ensure that your XO and your CO have passed the relevant tests on the academy, like the OTS and the OCC that we referenced earlier. And you also have to get up to 10 members. And like Alan said, that was a big factor for us, because as I kind of said previously, that member retention was an issue for us. So it was very much in my mind, and Alan, I'm sure it was in your mind too, of not only getting to that 10-member target, but also retaining members. And I think that's why we wanted to really have that social aspect to ensure that our members are engaged and really we're getting something out of the club. We were worried about 10 members, 8 years ago, and look at us now.
We're going to have to maybe look at relaunching another vessel at some point. Maybe sleeping in the nice cells is a bit much now at this stage.
or just something with a load of cabins in it, just to, so that the rest of the crew have somewhere to stay. Before we go on, I just want to say hello to a few people who have logged in. Lee Raythorn there's called in. Hi, Ray, Lee. Sharon, how you doing, Sharon? Anita, and Grace, how are you? Andy Quinn is there. Tara, that's the love of my life. She said I probably won't say this online, but there you go. Hi, you, love of my life. Kevin Lynch, hi. Anthony Raythorn, hey, how are you, man? I hope you're keeping well. Things are going well for you. He had said something to say. It's all great to listen to. We've come a long way in such a short time from a Sabre class to a Nova class and still boldly going. Indeed, we are.
Absolutely.
Sharon is saying it gets a bit stinky in the Marine quarters. We might need to look at increasing the size there. Hey, Eugene, how are you doing?
I don't recommend opening a window.
Yeah, but just don't open the window when we're in flight.
That might be unfortunate.
But so that's the thing. Like, so David got Alan involved, and then Alan, you brought me in, and can't quite remember how you convinced me to do it, but you've convinced me to do it anyway. And we were really lucky because we had our first little event in, I can't even remember the name of the pub off Bagger Street there.
That one I got lost going to. It was
most of us got lost going to. It was a video day.
Yeah. Frank managed to pick the most out of the way little pub for one of our first events, and no one could find
it. We're still trying to find that.
One point to note that's very worth mentioning as well. Lieutenant David Pilkington was one of our first members to arrive after us as well, where he had just missed us by about 10 minutes, I believe. So he had come along, but had just missed us. Just wrapped up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He was there in the early stages too.
Well, he was actually instrumental in getting us into the Teachers Club, which is our
that's correct. Yes,
our sort of unofficial home now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. David Pilkington is the guy who got us in there. Because he was doing some stuff on the stage. Have a stage there where he was doing a bit of work there. And we went to that pub. There was yourself, there was Pete, Betty, myself, Alan, and David Pilkington, and we basically just watched a few videos, and it was the first kind of meetup that we had, that was pretty much Cuchulain at that point.
That was.
And I had just come on board at that stage. I was like, what was I, second officer or something? I can't remember, but something like that. Anyway, I hadn't had to do those exams at that stage, But the big thing for us, because we were pushing to make it something social. An event came along the same year called Dublin Comic Con. It was their first event, And I remember I went out to Soars. They had a bunch of guys promoting the event in the pavilions, and I went up there and had a chat with some of them, and we managed to get a table at Dublin Comic Con, and that was where we kicked off, because there was so many people coming up and saying, we've been looking for a Star Trek fan club for years, and that's where we started to get the numbers, and people started saying, oh, what are you doing, and do you do anything else, and do you do any meetings? So I said, okay, that's brilliant. Now we need to find somewhere permanent. I remember searching around places, and David Pilkington says, well, there's this place, the Teachers Club off Parnell Square, and they've got a really nice room upstairs. We weren't downstairs at that stage. We weren't big enough for that yet. So we moved upstairs, and I was going, great, this would be great stuff to have, run little events and run parties. And I was thinking, well, there's a mate of mine who myself and Alan particularly used to run events called DMZ events. And we used to have video days. We used to show Deep Space Nine, and we used to show Voyager, and we went on to Buffy and Angel when they kind of faded. But, and he'd been doing DJing at some of the big cons in the UK. So we said, right, okay, and let's have a chat with this guy. So I had a chat with Jono. There he is there. And he came on board. And so, after the success of Dublin Comic Con, our next thing was to create that social aspect and get our first parties going in the Teachers Club. And Jono, you were kind of a little, do I really want to get into all this again at that stage, weren't you? Like, we'd have done it, we'd run like Prophecy, and we'd run Caritas, and we kind of had stepped away from it and all of that, and then being dragged back into DJing events and getting involved in getting it going and setting the room up and doing all of this. And you were looking at me going, not sure if I want to get back into that, like, but you came on board anyway, and things
Well, I think
continued to go from there, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm what you can see me in the background here as everyone else is kind of chatting in the before times of the Cuchulain. So, and anybody who's watching, we all know who we are at this stage. All have heard some of these stories before. But when you guys were all starting here 9 years ago, I was living in Canada at the time. I spent 2 years living in Toronto for what was it, like 2010 to January 2013 or something. And it was when I arrived back, my visa ended, couldn't stay. So I came home, and as soon as I come home, I mean, we'd been in contact while I was over there, Frank. But, and then when I came home, I can't remember, did you guys did the first DCC? I wasn't there, was I?
You weren't there. No, you came along. You were at the second one.
Second, yeah. So I was still in Canada.
You were still in Canada at the time. So we did the first DCC. Aidan Leonard was still very much a big part of it at that stage, and he was doing the Iron Man costume. But it was a major thing. We met an awful lot of our future long-term members at that event.
Yeah.
I remember we had a membership list that we'd done up, for people to put down their name, their email address for interest, and
that's right.
We ran out of pages. We were just going through pages of them as people.
Nothing had been around for so long. I'm going through. Like I went up to when Frank said we were doing this. I went up into the attic and I pulled out some of the archives here of because everyone should know at this stage I'm a hoarder of stuff. But I have so much stuff from like even 30 years ago. I mean, in here somewhere, I've got to have. I know I have somewhere a what you call it a program from.
Caritas?
I know. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I found what I was looking for. Because I have, my God, it's going back. Like I look at stuff and I have stuff, all the Buffy and Angel events in the UK, Stargate, Babylon 5 at the Starfleet Ball. There's one. Yeah, look at that. So.
Oh yeah.
Remember that one?
Do I what? That was the year of the epic adventure and trying just.
Wasn't that the one where it was February? They couldn't get any Ryanair planes off the ground because it was there was such thick ice on the planes. By the time they defrosted de-iced the planes, they were iced up again. So we all decided, well, feck it, we'll planes, trains, and automobiles. So we went down to the ferry port. We got on the ferry. We got
just in time because I think we were one of the first ones to think of that because we got to Dublin port. We got the ferry, but half an hour afterwards, the ferry port was packed. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so we got onto the ferry and we made our way over to Head, and then it was Linda, Joanne's sister at the time, was ringing ahead and organising trains and booking the car that we had to hire to.
That's right.
It was a pure planes, trains, and automobiles adventure.
And then we got the train to somewhere like Birmingham. Then we rented a car, from the car we went to. We drove, myself and Carl Leonard, we drove all the way down to Bournemouth to get to that particular event there. So, oh my God, I'm just going back. Like I'm going back in time here. I don't even know if I have. Wow, there's Al, you like that. There's the VisiCon Masquerade entry form.
Oh wow.
1996 in Ireland. Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Not my VisiCon. I think I found my VisiCon stuff. Yep, I just found my receipt for VisiCon. There's my Time Warp 2. It's on the only special events ticket. It's to watch Voyager. Do you remember that? It's to watch Voyager.
Yep,
Time Warp
there
2.
too. Yeah.
That's what that was. What else have I got in here? So I think the point of what there's an old Octocon one program from Octocon. Loads of people out there should know all these things I'm referencing. And this is where we were together. Aha! Look at this. Yeah, I found my Time Warp stuff. Look at this. Remember this? Back in '93. Time Warp.
That was my first ever convention.
That was my first ever con as well. First ever guest con. This is what the guys had put together. Look at how many pages on that. Look, and there's the bus route from my hometown. That's the only reason I got to go, because I was 12.
You were 12?
I was only 12 at Time Warp. So the only reason I was allowed to go because it was in Malahide, and it was 5 minutes from the house on the bus. The only reason I was allowed to go. There's the VisiCon.
Yep.
Thing. So the reason why I'm showing you these is like we were doing this back in the 90s, and this is where like Frank and Alan and everybody, we wanted to, as best as we could with our resources, get back to these type of things, you know. My God, going back again.
That's it, isn't it? You know, we wanted to kind of bring some of that back. So we had the room upstairs in the Teachers Club, and we started doing, you know, we were a bit old school at the beginning. We were doing video days.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, I think we had a couple of gaming days downstairs in one of the small rooms in the Teachers Club, first of all.
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. And then that moved upstairs as we started to get a little bit busier. Oh, God, I remember that. Jeepers. Yeah.
These are the random things that I had. Like these were the sign up things before the internet.
Yeah.
These are the sign up things.
Yeah.
The table.
David was saying earlier at the beginning there, like, you know, he was looking through the internet to find out what was going on. I was going, what? The internet existed back then? No, it's way too far back. But yeah, well, that's it. So, and we were doing the video days, and moved upstairs, and we started looking at, you know, expanding that a little. So, John, you came in, you started DJing. We had a bit of a party night, you know, we had music going, and we started bringing in raffles and quizzes and all that kind of. So we had a social event and a party up and running. And you know,
I think a great thing as well, just, you know, you're referencing there that we were in a number of different rooms within the Teachers Club. And yeah, that just goes to show what a great find that place was for a club like Dublin. Because as kind of our numbers grew and we, you know, decided to try doing these different types of things, the Teachers Club was very well set up to kind of say, okay, well, you know, if you're doing a games night, they have the small rooms downstairs. If they're doing a larger screening, they have the rooms upstairs. And, you know, now we're in their large hall. So they really had the capacity to kind of adapt to our needs. And yeah, they've been great to us ever since our first event. So finding that venue was absolutely brilliant. I think something we kind of maybe struggled or potentially could have struggled with if we would, you know, hadn't found this place is finding venues within our price range that, you know, had that kind of scalability.
Absolutely, because I know at one point, you know, I was thinking, well, we'll check out Wynn's Hotel, because that's where DMZ Events used to run their events, and like, you were familiar with it and went and had a look, and you know, the pricing was just, you know, we were starting off, we were just beginning, so it was out of our range really. And then David Pilkington, if you know, I don't know if he's watching or if he's around, but hey, David, if you are, but David Pilkington, you know, brought me on, introduced me to Tig, Stephen in the Teachers Club, and got chatting and said, great, you know, we've got to the point now where you know, anytime we book an event, it's just Starfleet. You know, Stephen or Tig would just write Starfleet in the book to say, okay, they're booked in for whatever event that they're running at the time, like, you know. And yeah, you're right, David. It was a major find for us, the Teachers Club, like, you know. I just kind of checked through a couple of the comments here before we continue. Michael Nolan turned around and said he first met Frank at DCC in uniform and Betty at the table. Still have a photo with Frank before I got to know him. Cool, very good. Yeah. That was the great thing about Dublin Comic Con for us, because, you know, we got to meet so many people. A lot of our command team, you know, we met at the first Comic Con, and they became, you know, regulars at the parties, and you know, we just continued to grow from there, and it became more and more involved. You know, it was absolutely brilliant. Who else we got here? Someone's intro. I'll have to go back to Facebook now to see who said that. Andrew. interest at the Terry Farrell night. I remember that. Yeah, there was like loads. That was Star Trek Era night, and there was a good few to put on there at that. Terry Farrell is just brilliant. But yeah, so we got the parties going. Dublin Comic Con was a huge thing for us. So it was all about continuing to grow and continue. I know, Alan, you did some amazing work in pushing memberships and pushing people to become involved, and I started looking at bringing more social aspects to it as well. We started doing the movie nights. We'd meet up. If there was a particular genre movie or sci-fi movie, we'd create a movie night out of it, and we'd go on a Saturday. We'd meet up in Eddie Rockets or wherever and have a bite to eat first, and then go to the movie, and then we'd come out afterwards and go to the local that bar. Not the wool packets, some wool something, but we'd have a drink there and discuss the movie, and it was all about that socializing aspect of it. The woodshed, there you go. The close enough. And that was great. The bowling nights, they were really popular. Again, it was another aspect of people being able to meet and socialize, meet other fans, and get involved. And then we got to the point where we started doing the culture days. Elaine Whelan, our chief of staff, was instrumental in bringing those in. We went to Dublin Castle, and lots of other really interesting trips that we made. Collins Barracks and Glasnevin Cemetery. We've done lots of that as well to also bring in the cultural aspect of being Irish and bringing that involvement into it as well. So and so we've been continuing to grow. So with Dublin Comic Con year 2, and then you were involved in that one. Then Jono, that was your first DCC, wasn't it? Dublin Comic Con 2.
Yeah,
it was the second one in Swords.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the funny thing was, much like Time Warp, the great thing for me was it was so close to home. That venue is actually 5 minutes from here. That venue is 5 minutes from here. So I was like, fantastic! I don't have to do anything. I can get up, drive over, park up, and if I forget something, straight back here, and I can sort something out. And I think. When did we start playing with Artemis? That was
early. That was in the early stages because
that was before we moved to the main hall. Because I remember sitting
in the room downstairs.
There was a room off the room that we were using upstairs for the videos. Yeah, and we set up Artemis in there. There was one famous night there. I think it was the March. I think it was the St. Patrick's Night party that we had. Do you remember we had one? So our second or third year, excuse me, and we had a party night for St. Patrick's Day. It was a St. Patrick's Day weekend, and we had a night up we were still upstairs at that point, and we had 2 bridges.
Yeah. I would have liked to have worked better.
That's it. Yeah, that was it. That's where we set up originally for Artemis.
Yeah. So, that was. We used to set that up in the corner of the other room because, it was the best place to do it, and putting it on the diagonal there with the high chair, captain's chair in the middle. So it's a pity that day where we did the 2 bridges, it didn't work. And I think what we figured out later, because Frank, you had a full complement of the crew, and I had 3 people or 2 people or something, and we figured out later it was the drawbacks of the router that we were using could only handle like 12 people. But to get 2 full crews going, you want to have at least 12 computers attached, and I think that was the problem with that particular router. Couldn't handle more than 8 things at a time or something stupid. So you're not the only person. There's Marcus somewhere too, Sharon.
Yeah, no, I'm eternally grateful. I'm eternally grateful to Marcus because he was your pilot during that. He was your helmsman during the battle that we had, you were the captain, I was the captain, and I managed to defeat you. And I think pretty much because Marcus spent most of his time flying into asteroids.
Well, he was flying into asteroids, and also, you know, kept flying to the other end of the map. To which I'm he'd be going this way, and I do remember distinctly you were down here, and I was like, you know, turn 180 degrees, and you know, fly, you know, I wanted him to fly this way, but he kept flying off. I don't know, over here somewhere, over here. I don't know what he was after, but you know, it was like.
I think we should try to find some dilithium or something, but yeah.
He was exploring. True Starfleet officer.
Yeah, he was on an exploration mission where the whole point of that evening, I think we'd set up, and I even tried to play, like, you know, a clip from YouTube of the Starfleet Academy game, so that it was very much like, what was that episode of The Next Generation where Riker is on one ship and they have to do the Picard maneuver? So
we were trying to emulate that.
You were trying to emulate that. It was war games. That's what we were trying to do. It was trying to emulate war games. And the idea that evening was that everyone could watch and like cheer on the crew, the bridge that they wanted to cheer on. But unfortunately, just, you know, due to the technicalities the technical problems that always happen when we're trying to do things on a shoestring or no budget at all, you know, the whole thing just collapsed into not having a good pilot.
I mean,
that's part of the list.
I won that occasion. I still take that as a win. No. But Anthony there, thanks Anthony. I went along to the Spring Party in 2018 out of curiosity, and as a result of your warm welcome, have never looked back. Anthony, you know, it's so fantastic, you know, that you came along and became such a valued member of our crew. You know, and thank you so much for everything you've been doing with the Triple Whisper. And, you know, we wish you all the best with what's coming up for you, mate. Hope all goes well. But, you know, Anthony, for example, you know, for me, he's the primary example as what we wanted to be. You know, we wanted to be a club for people to come along and socialize and meet people, make friends, and, you know, and feel like they were becoming part of a Star Trek fan club family, you know, and it was where we wanted to go from the very beginning, wasn't it, guys? Like, I mean, that was our direction.
That was 100%.
When we see comments like that, you know, we really feel like, you know, we managed to achieve exactly what it is we were setting out to do, you know, and so it's fantastic to see comments like that. Thanks again, Anthony. And Anthony as well, like, you know, came along to Destination with us the last couple of years, had a great time, and every time he comes along, he's bringing presents and you know, prizes for people. Like, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, you know? The Wraithorns always come along with something for everybody, and
they do.
Like, you know, I mean, guys, were you influenced by Oprah or Gay Byrne or something? You know, there's one for everybody in the audience.
What I always find remarkable is not only the sort of thoughtful gifts they bring, but even, you know, when it's a smaller event, a movie viewing, you know, one of our own run nights, just the enthusiasm they bring with them, and that same could be said for you know, I'd go to say the vast majority of our members. Just the enthusiasm they bring with them is what makes our nights what they are. You know, because, you know, we are that social club. We have that social element, and, you know, if people are coming in with that enthusiasm and that energy, it makes the club what it is.
It does, yeah. And it's what the club was always meant to be about. Like, you know, I mean, yes, we have a command team and we try to organize things, but we're organizing it for people, you know, to be able to come along and be a part of it. Like, you know, the club is all about the people who are in it, you know, the members. You know, whether you're in Starfleet or whether you join our Facebook page and come along to our party nights or our movie nights, that's what it's all about, you know.
This is the photo gallery I did up for the panel we did at Destination. So there's no music on this view, so just keep, you know, talk away while
cool.
over this.
Yeah. That's actually one of the Captain Tables nights, which was you know, an event for the command team at the beginning of the year to get together and start strategizing for what we're going to do for the year ahead. You know, planning for the likes of, you know, Dublin Comic Con and Armagh. We've done Armagh on 2 or 3 cases with our friends there in Emerald Garrison. That's one of the movie nights there. That's the team after maybe a Saturday night at DCC. Chilling out. There we are at Destination.
Oh, look, I'm in that one.
That's the first destination. I wasn't at that one.
That's the first destination, yeah.
We'll talk about Vaughn in a second. I got some stuff here about Vaughn, with Vaughn in it.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, guys, when they went into the into do their whatever they had to do, guests when they into the sort of the dances and all that sort of thing at DST, always came out and looked for the Irish crowd in the corner straight after they were finished.
Yeah.
Not hard to find those, to be fair.
Not hard to find,
true.
no.
Yeah.
But I mean, these photos, like, emphasize like what it is that we've been about. It's all about making friends and the social aspect of being part of a group like that, Let's see what Anthony was saying there. Yeah, exactly, Anthony. Everyone it should feel like they're all part of the same group.
That's a great shot there.
Yeah, that's the Emerald Garrison event at the Armagh Planetarium.
Yeah, Planetarium. Yeah.
Looking at that photo, it brings me on to there's Vaughn Armstrong. We had an event with him back in when Enterprise debuted, and we ran an event to show the first 2 or 3 episodes, and Vaughn Armstrong was at that.
There we are. I have some of the stuff here from that, Frank. We've got where is it going? I've got some bits and pieces from that here.
I think actually, while he's looking there, you picked him up at the airport, didn't you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had our press announcement for that. A poster. We didn't go with that one in the end, but that was an original poster. This was our con booklet.
That was our booklet, yeah.
2001. Back in 2001, we ran this with in conjunction with Dennis Rush, who was running UT events at the time. It was our schedule for the day, and we were hoping for something. We started I was going through some of the bits and pieces, like even on this poster that I made up. We never went with this one; it's terrible. But it was influenced by 6th season and Next Generation. But originally we were going to go in Wynn's Hotel.
That's right.
And then we decided, that's a silly idea. It's too small. We're going to go bigger. And we kept looking and looking and looking.
Ended up in Dunleary, wasn't it?
We ended up in the Royal Dublin, the Royal Hotel in Dunleary, which by the end of it, by the day, unfortunately, was a bad idea. We went out there because that's where Octacon we're doing. There's the hotel. It's still there. It's been refurbished since, but we went out to there because Octacon were running their events out there, and that's why we decided to do that. Unfortunately, once we looked at the once we got all the bills in and all that type of stuff, it wasn't as the best idea. This was actually, I found this. I forgot I had that in this box, but this is what Vaughn signed. This was our poster for that particular event.
Yeah.
So, and Vaughn, for this particular one for Vaughn, I got in touch with Vaughn, and the whole thing was we were going to, our thing back then, because we really, with a small population, we can't afford to do guest events. It's just guests charge so much, actors charge so much that we just can't afford it. And trying to get people in the door. And as I said before, the cost of an event here is the same, if not more, than cost of running one in the UK. But we have 10% of the population, so you could therefore only expect 10% of the numbers through the door. So you're only going to get 10% of what they could possibly make in the UK when you're doing the old-fashioned weekend event. So we tried to entice the actors over back then by going, hey, come, we'll show you Ireland. Come, we'll spend you and get you an extra few days here, because we can't really afford to pay you 10, 20, 50 grand or whatever for your one-day appearance. And Vaughn was very happy to do that. It was very exciting to have him over. He was a lovely man. We booked a hotel room for him, and eventually he couldn't even make it, because little did we know, and little did he know, that he was booked the days preceding coming over to us in 2001. He actually got booked on Enterprise as a Klingon. So, and I think it was season 1 as a Klingon. And when he told me this, he says, I'm still going to try and make it. Because his flights were booked, the money had been spent. We booked his hotel room, we booked the hotel, and he said, well, I'm going to still come. And I said, well, is there anything you can bring to show what you've just been up to this week? To show us why things might be not as good as we'd hoped. And I do remember he brought his prosthetic nose. He kept it, and we raffled that off for someone. Don't remember who got it, but Von Armstrong bought his Klingon nose over. And the other thing was he was here for all of 36 hours because he had to go back. So he flew over, was here for 36 hours, and then had to fly back again straight away. So we're eternally grateful for.
Totally. I like it. He was so entertaining. You got out to his ukulele and played a few tunes and sang for us, and did the usual con stuff. He was brilliant. It was in spite of all of that, it was a great day.
I mean, look at what we tried to get away with charging. Where was it? £18 Irish pounds. Before that was during the switch over to euro, but we tried to get my phone number still the same. But yeah, we tried to get away with only charging £18 because we knew it was great for people to do things here. And we barely scraped by on running that. A lot of things weren't great. We ran 3 or 4 events over those few years, and that wasn't one of our best. Caritas which was a Buffy and Angel event, which I have a thingy here somewhere. But yeah, and I also found this because we did do a successful thing. Do you guys remember this?
Yes,
August.
Yeah, the end of Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
Can anyone remember the year?
Jesus, no.
Anyone even going to guess the year? Anyone out there in the comments? Can you guess the year? Because we got that before Sky One, because Sky One was the thing at the time. And I put together, and this kind of showing you all this goes back to when Frank asked me to come in. There's like a who's who in Deep Space Nine, a little bit of a passport. Thanks to Subsidy were a great help to us way back then. But we were Neutral Zone Productions for that, I think. But yeah, I used to do all these things, like the flyers, booklets, posters that weren't used because we had posters that we did end up using and all this type of stuff. And and we also had tickets that I still have, ticket stubs, and we also had rules and regs for the event. So when Frank came to me 8 years ago and said, John, will you be part of there's a flyer, look, and John, will you be part of this new thing called the Cuchulain? And I went, there you gave away the thing. There it is. 1999, guys. 22 years ago. What's that?
On that poster again, what was the byline on it? So, end part finale, what we leave behind.
Yeah.
That's a precursor of the new documentary today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
was 7 at the time.
But yeah, that's that was it. We managed to get those episodes we were in. But yeah, I did all this, and I didn't only do it for that. We continued on. We had another event later on with a couple of the actors for Buffy, and I did all sorts of different posters for that. We were running our stuff for a while. We ran them in Chief O'Neill's in the auditorium. We had that auditorium for a while. I remember we had to switch from Wynn's Hotel to the auditorium in Chief O'Neill's. Thought it was amazing until we actually started working with them, and the staff were so snobbish they didn't like us coming in. So that ended working. We ran Prophecy there, thinking it was a great idea, but it was before the Lewis actually ran by.
That's it, exactly. That was the issue. Like, we should have stayed with the Royal Dublin Hotel.
Remember the Royal Dublin closed after Caritas. Caritas was Andy Hallett and Mark Lutz. Here's something else. I even went into designing a set for Enterprise that we never got to do because we had no money. That was like, I had the idea for doing, being able to present stuff. Like I was trying to do what they do in Vegas or they do in the UK. I designed a door. I think eventually I had a door that actually had DMZ in the door.
All right.
So, and I was like, oh, we can build this stuff. And, where does the tech desk go? I used to do all of that. And actually, there's something I'm going to ask Alan about that in a sec. But yeah, I went through all of that. And that was why when you said, will you come and join us? I was like, yeah. I'll advise. No, I'm not doing all this again.
Yeah.
Find someone else to do it, man. So but yeah, that's like so much stuff here. Just going down memory lane. We had Richard Chevalou in at one stage.
Yeah, I collected him from the airport too.
Yeah, from
Earth Final Conflict.
Yep.
We tried to organize that within 2 weeks. That was a stupid idea. We literally had access to Richard, and we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." That was just barmy to try and organize a convention and get people in the door within 2 weeks. That was silliness. But I mean, I didn't know any better. I was 18, 19 at the time, so I wasn't. There we go. There's Caritas. This is what we ran this in the Royal Dublin Hotel. Andy Hallett and Mark Lutz. I think besides stuff going on behind the scenes, that was the most successful event by numbers and actors. That was fantastic. With 220 people, we sold out. Andy went on the radio. He got us in. It was a Buffy Angel event, but you'll notice that there's very little Buffy Angel logo stuff mentioned for copyright reasons. So that's why it was called Caritas. And anybody who was a fan, you'll realize that that was Angel's tattoo. And we managed to get Angel's tattoo in there, which is an Irish thing from the Book of Kells. And then the other thing I actually found just now, I found the bill from the Royal Dublin Hotel for that.
Oh, God.
event. And that event, we were so lucky with that event. Yeah. 200. What do we charge? We charged €40. We got 220 people, so do the math. Or it was €45 to walk in, right? So we had a little bit of a better idea about how to charge people from £18 a couple of years beforehand up to that one. And so Jesus, the date isn't even on this for some stupid reason. But 17th of June. No, that's God. I don't know why the date isn't on that. That's a bit of a fallacy there. But anyway. Saturday, 6th of July, and it was of that whatever year that was. But here's the bill. That's how much it cost us to rent the hotel for the day. €2,113.30. That was the breakdown. So that's how much it would cost to run in the Royal Dublin, which is demolished now. But that's that's what we were looking at, and we had to pay the actors, and we had to fly them in, and we had to put them up. Blah, 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 blah. So you can see where the numbers crunch up, and I always kind of reiterate that to people to kind of go, this is why.
That's why we kind of really quickly decided that we weren't going to go down that route and be an event group. So it's great to see the guys at Star Trek Era took that stuff on board. And
that was the event that made us decide not to do any more.
Not to do it. Yeah, exactly.
That was the guess.
And we decided to stick with the idea of being a social club, run our parties and do our movie nights and be a social club fans rather than being an event group and arranging large events like that. Having said that, though, we continue to grow as Dublin Comic Con grew. Every year we went with them, our numbers continue to grow as well. So we very quickly became, didn't we guys, one of the largest chapters in Starfleet International.
Yeah.
Frank,
I think we still are the largest chapter in Starfleet
Yeah.
International.
we still are.
Reaching our first 100 members in 2017. I remember celebrating that in the club.
I remember. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Frank, can I just go back for a sec? I want to ask Al something because I'm going through stuff here and I actually don't remember what happened.
Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. That's right. Back in a minute.
You remember that?
Vaguely, yes.
Right.
Oh, was that one of the ones in the UK?
No, that was one that you tried to organize.
Right. Okay.
You notice the name on it presents a new beginning. In Aid of Concern, you tried to do it.
Yes.
That eventually, because we were saying that you couldn't do that. You couldn't get it in. I mean, even Max, who was with us a few weeks ago, said he'd do it. Richard wanted to come. Richard Chevalier wanted to go back. Max knew Chase, and then we wanted to do the old con weekend thing. But the only that we had to say that it's in the works. It's planned, but that particular event never happened, so that's why partly because the what was it? This event. I mean, it's called the Enterprise premiere on this, but this one. That's why this became called. This was called A New Beginning.
Yeah,
it was Star Trek A New Beginning. That's what the event. This event was called A New Beginning because we never actually got to run that one. And I want to ask you, I don't know if this ever happened. Did this ever happen? I don't remember that.
I don't recall that happening.
No, did that ever happen? I mean, I have two things for this. Two different types of posters. Look what posters were like back then, 22 years ago. This is what we had to do. We had to do them up in Word. Photoshop wasn't a thing. Just had to try to make them exciting and eye-catching in Word. What was it? £25 per person. Wednesday, 29th of December, 1999. And then, that shifted. Oh, no, still the 29th of December, 1999. I mean, wow. Was that? I don't know. Jesus, there's other names on this where I'm going, oh, God, I haven't seen that person for 25 years. So, but yeah, that's other stuff that we tried to run. But there you go. Stuff I'm finding from back in the day. But that's how long we're around.
Yeah, totally. But like as you said, and we all said we decided not to go down that route and stay as a social club and run our events, our social events, our parties, and and be part of what Dublin Comic Con we're doing. So having said all of that about not getting involved and just being in there as an advisor and maybe a DJ at the party nights, and saying, well, I'm not going to get any more involved and start create posters. We got to a point with Dublin Comic Con. We said we really want to do something more for them. We wanted to be able to present more, like not just have a table at the event, but actually contribute something to it. So, I mean, going from I'll just advise. I'm not going to get involved in doing anything. Somebody decided to start building a chair. Actually, no, sorry. Somebody decided to build a console. And so we went to a next level with Dublin Comic Con. We went from, holding a fan table at an event to creating a set. Jono got involved in designing and building the bridge console that we now work with. And Stephen O'Neill got involved in creating a computer system for us. And Jono installed Trek levels of Trek images for Artemis. So you install that into the console. So, when we got there, it wasn't just a console set that you could have photos at. It also had the bridge simulator game Artemis installed, so you could actually play through scenarios, sit at the console, and feel like you're actually flying the ship.
So, for that, Frank, here I have another slideshow that we made for Destination.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So let me just pull this up full screen here. Well, no, we'll put her to ourselves to the side, and I'll hit play here. So that's what it originally was. So shut up, Alexa. There's Pete, Al, Gian Andre, and we would. That's how we would set it up. Al brought us 27-inch monitor. And that's my laptop there with my X52 hotel system. That's Frank's laptop on the left. There's Elaine looking a bit nonplussed, and our old poster there. And that was, I think that was one of the best things that we had going was setting that particular setup. And I called it the runabout. Because it was a pilot and co-pilot, and the person, Jan there is playing the pilot, and then Pete's doing the everything else computer. So, and that was actually a great setup for bringing people over.
It was, yeah. It was a great setup, and that was at the second DCC. That was the
second DCC. I think that's my shoulder there underneath Alan's chin. But so we had that, and it was. We also were running it. We were running it back at the Teachers Club, and that was our. Once we moved downstairs, this is a couple of our setups down at the Teachers Club. So then and then we brought. It was back to Comic Con. It was not a Comic Con I missed. I think I don't know. There we had another one in the corner of Comic Con. 3 laptops. That's when actually, if I go back to the previous slide there. That's when Stephen actually managed to get his hands on some decommissioned laptops. So instead of us all bringing in our own laptops, Stephen was able to get his hand on a bunch. That's your joystick in there, Frank, as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a great thing to have running in the corner and a great thing to bring us running on Windows XP, as the thing there said. And then I remember we went to see a screening of something, and I was chatting with Alan Whelan and Chris at the bar in the Parnell Cinemas, which I believe is now gone. And I was trying to do a thing where we'd have a group of us build, one of those group builds. And I think it was a year or 2 years before I actually cut any wood that I said it to the lads. I said, anyone with skills, any makers that we could, and like even the term maker wasn't really being used back then. We just knew what had the skills. So I went, okay, well, let's get together, let's do a thing. And everyone was like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. But a lot of times with these things, it's not until someone actually starts it and does it that it starts to gain momentum. So I found myself with a whole heap of time and some spare cash. So I decided, well, I want to be able to sit at these things. The guys in the UK, they get to sit. And Dennis as well, my mate up in the north with Temple Props. Dennis had actually been commissioned to build one for Destination, and he'd started to build on his. I'd gone up to him for a day to see what he'd been up to, and I was like, wow. And my decision was I wanted to build, because we were playing Artemis, I wanted to build the console first, not the chair. Because I wanted people to be able to come and hang out, and that was the whole thing. Was like, come and then stay. Here's a reason for you to hang out and stay, and that's what the reason behind the console was. So I set about actually drawing and designing the console, and I remember I spent 7 days working out all these pencil measurements and what would go where. And eagle-eyed people out there will notice that it's not exactly the same size. It is not a screen accurate version. I was never doing that. I was making a Cuchulain version to hold Artemis. I was always going to hold computers. Like even the piece I've actually still not built, you'll notice down the bottom there it says keyboard. That was an extra box, and in the show it's the chronometer. When they go back in time, it's the thing with they got the spinning clock. I've never actually built that, but that was where the keyboard was supposed to go. So it's actually 3 keyboard sections, and then the Astrogator was going to have a widescreen monitor, but loaded in portrait mode. And I spent 7 days figuring out all those angles and trying to remember how my technical graphics worked in the Leave Insert. And then you'll see where it went from being a narrow one, very much like the show, but then I started to actually make it became wider. And again, the reason why it's got screens in 4:3 was because Stephen O'Neill was able to get us monitors donated in 4:3. So that's why it became 2 monitors with 4:3, which is perfect for Chekhov Station, because he had a square of buttons and he had a display screen, the yellow thing, and Sulu only had one. But I put Sulu's thing in the middle because it went in between the joystick and the throttle. And you see, that's two different versions of how to lay it out. So it went from that, then it's trying to figure out the shapes, different things. And then I had to go off I didn't have a table saw at the time, had to go off and I get a shop to cut it for me. And then it arrived as a kind of an IKEA flatback. And then I had to remember what I'd all done to put it together. So there you can see the Astrogator. Frank, you sourced the tulip chairs.
Yeah.
Now they're not proper tulip chairs. They don't have the proper base, but they've got wheels. This is where the projector would go. It was always designed to have the projector in it. Those are vents for heat because the projector is a damn heavy thing. And there you go. There's a widescreen shot of. I didn't have a workshop at the time. I had to set up a canopy, temporary workbenches. There's Frank screwing in a table leg. Sharon is making sure the chair works. Stephen's computer bank is on the back of the Jeep. There's
Johnny Kenna, I think was. That's right. Yeah.
Kenna in the back there. Yeah. So and all of our bits and I think that's the day where you delivered the chairs, and it's before it was put together. Oh, sorry. There was my table saw, which I'd only gotten afterwards. There's the Astrogator. We got the paint, started to paint. Remember, we all painted it up, and then my mother Jean went, "You're all rubbish at painting." And it was my mother who went, "No, I'll paint it for you." There's the inside with Stephen's computers. Yeah. I had to retcon some of that stuff, and then eventually we invested in a touch screen. We've got one touch screen in there. On the right-hand side, it's got a better contrast actually as the other one. That was our first outing.
That was our first outing. Yeah.
The console for the console.
That's where we moved from being, a Star Trek group with a fan table at an event to being, a real contributor to the event itself. That we were actually offering a set that people could get a photograph taken on and actually interact with playing the game.
I think if you look between Alan and Stephen there, you can see our captain's chair at the time was actually just a convention center chair.
Yeah.
I had started to build the arm of the captain's chair and then went, oh, you know what, fuck this. That's just too much. I'm not going for the whole hog at this stage. I'd spent 3 weeks building it, a week designing it, 7 days designing it, and 3 weeks building it. As I always say, the girl I was seeing at the time didn't understand it at all, thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. But eventually it morphed into this. This was, we asked for a different, because we were put up beside the big door at the first time out. And who was it that negotiated this section for us? Because we moved.
Yeah, I think I remember talking to Carl about it, and Alan was as well. And it was a great move. You had kind of given me some details as to what you were kind of looking for. As regards the platform and being away from a corner and doing all that kind of stuff. And so. Yeah, myself and Alan had a chat going with Carl regarding trying to set it up for that particular year and have done since, Yeah. And I think that's it there. It was the perfect spot.
Yeah, I think if we this is our second setup. Actually, Frank, if you just twirl in your chair and show the guy behind you in his amazing costume, just answer your question. This is Lee Raythorne asking the question there. How many PCs were put into the Astrogator? That was a bank of 4 PCs that Stephen built. There was a bank of 4 PCs in there, and that ran the con and ops and the captain's projection. So yeah, it was four PCs were in there initially. But I don't know if you can see behind Frank, that chap in the wonderful monster maroon behind you. That stand behind you. That was our first run out where we were in a corner. We were in a good place actually. We were on an angle for that one, weren't we? that was So that was behind Frank. You can see our first outing of the chair, where we at the first time the console came out, we were doing like, was it 15-20 minute runs? Myself and Stephen hadn't actually gotten.
We got to the point. We got to the point where you had to start handing out tickets because people wanted to play it so much. The twins or the triplets, especially, kept coming back. Just kept coming back. Once they got their first taste of it, and they just kept coming back. But loads of people wanted to play through the game. We didn't have the captain's chair at that stage, so it was just the console, the bridge set up, the game and screen, and people were just, and they were really enjoying it. And people kept coming back. So yeah, we had to start cutting down the time frames for the games and give people, say, 10 minutes or whatever it was, and keep going that way.
Well, just to add some sort of comparison to this. You look at the setup we can bring to an event like DCC now, and when we're in the planning stages, we have to factor in crowd control, and how long we're going to allow games to run and stuff like that. It is a far cry from our early day recruitment desks where we were worried about anyone turning up to our desk at all and showing any interest.
That's it.
Show the other side of it now.
Completely. Yeah, it's just a different level altogether. It has brought us to, and that's Worldcon. That's Worldcon, a huge event that travels the world, was in Dublin 2019, and we got invited to be a part of it, and it was
1 week after
Dublin Comic Con. Yeah, it was like, in some ways that was fortunate because we had the setup built up for DCC, and it was still quite a bit of work to move it from the floor we were in for DCC down to the floor for Worldcon. Yourself and Robbie then
came in on a Tuesday to put it back together.
Set it all together again, and and again we had another great weekend at Worldcon. So
here we have astronaut hopefuls. This is Jeanette Epps, and I think she's linked to Blue Origin. She was supposed to go up this year, but Blue Origin have had a massive setback after a failed docking attempt with the space station. The retro engines for docking with the station fired 11 hours early, and that was like one line of code and 2 million. So Blue Origin has a setback, so they're kind of tailing behind Crew Dragon. That's Nora in the back, who's an Irish astronaut hopeful. And I can't remember what Nora was going with. Is she going with Amazon? Is she Blue Origin? Or is Amazon Blue Origin? I'm a bit foggy on the details there. Somebody can correct me. But yeah, that's who they are. And both of them have actually signed the chair, which is great.
Yeah. We've got a couple of other signatures there as well. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There's Johnny. Good. Johnny Frakes. I remember when he walked up and there's Doug Jones. Who's also now a captain. He wasn't a captain when he signed it, but he's now a captain. So, two of the Star Trek actors that have signed it are both captains. So it's there's Andy Quinn chiming in there. And that's the whole crew. I always feel sorry for Alan Whelan. Alan and Elaine had the choice of what day will you go? And Alan chose the wrong day.
Yeah,
I feel so sorry for him. But yeah, and I think when we were taking those pictures at one stage, it was either Johnny Frakes or Doug, and I was like, I'm getting up behind the chair. I'm standing behind the chair, and I think I nearly threw Pete out of the way to get over. Sorry, Pete. I'll be forever sorry, not sorry for that. But there we all are there's Jeanette signing the chair, and and Jonathan Frakes signed his name Jonath, and that was it, Jonath. We've also had some other weird celebrities on the bridge. There's Ed Byrne.
Ed Byrne, yeah.
And you guys got to meet Ed because I had to fly off to the States the next day. And there's Anthony and Lee at the helm for Ed. The Game of Thrones Fluffy Woofs.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that dog passed away last year. That one of the dire wolves from Game of Thrones, scratching the hell out of my paintwork.
Your mum painted though, technically.
So, but yeah, there you go. So that's some of the stuff times we've had there with the bridge. I also have, if you guys want to see it, Alan was asking. I've also got the
the time lapse thing. Yeah, throw that up.
If you wanna put those up, will I stick those up as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Throw those up.
For anybody who hasn't seen, hang on, something's booting on my computer. There's because I hit the wrong button. We should stop that. Silly computer. Share screen. Yeah. So here we go. So what I'm going to do here is, I don't know if the sound will come through. We'll find out in a second. But here is, I'm going to play them side by side. So the difference between these, what happened at Dublin Comic Con versus Worldcon, was we had to build the set from its component pieces at Dublin Comic Con. And then only half deconstruct it and move it downstairs. And then from that half deconstructed stage, put it mostly back together for Worldcon, but then completely deconstruct it and put it all away at Worldcon. So there's actually two very different kind of starts and beginnings.
For anybody watching there, I can see a few people still commenting. This gives you an indication of just, the level of work that goes into setting this up. It's a long way, as David said, from putting up a table and putting a few bits and pieces on it and saying, "Hey, you come to us for our Star Trek fan club." This is where we are now, and it's great to see. So, you quoted Gay Byrne there earlier, John. I'm going to do it again and say, "Play that, Colette. Oh. Roll it, Colette."
Oh, roll it there, Roisin. Oh, sorry. That always happens. I'll do that in a second. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves. It always craps itself.
I see our chief engineer is trying to join us there, so hopefully he'll be able to manage it shortly. His device is not connected at the moment. He's having an issue with his laptop.
Sorry, that's why I hit the wrong button. I was coming up with a solution for Alan there. There's a lot more stuff. Well, that's actually something I sent you guys a photo earlier on as well of the new stuff that I've invested in.
Yes, because Grace did put in a question there earlier. So what are we planning later for this year? Obviously nothing in March, unfortunately. Yeah. Please God, August. But we'll come back to that, Anne. Once we'll have a look at these videos to show everyone the level of effort that goes into setting this up for Dublin Comic Con and for people to come along and enjoy. And we'll go back to that.
I was just suggesting to Alan Whelan, who's attempting to join us there, that you try using your phone if the camera on the laptop's not working. If you can hear us, I've said that to him in the chat there. Right. Okay. Let's see. I have these queued up now. They're a few seconds different between each one. So, but we can talk over it. I don't know if the music will share, but there we go. So, so here we go. So this is Worldcon, and we had this wonderful video.
Yeah. Doug Jones was just so much fun at that, wasn't he?
Doug was fantastic.
He sat with us for over, I think, nearly 3/4 of an hour just chatting.
And Derek, his handler Derek Mackey was a little bit worried, but Derek was grateful when we started to include Derek in the whole thing. Yeah. So once Derek became part of it, and it took us, I think it took well over 6 months to 9 months to get permission to use that footage of Doug, because that was the thing that was very important that we had to. We were never going to use it without permission. That's for sure. So that was very important. Because that was one thing Derek said, that there's other events, especially Star Wars events, where they'll just take a video and then just post it straight away, which you're not supposed to do when you're working with actors. You have to get permission to do these things. Yeah. So you can see already there on the right the deconstruction for how much we have. Stephen O'Neill's given. We have pallets now for stuff. you can see that I have to load up the trailer. We need a trailer to pull this in. And luckily enough now when we're in DCC, you can load the trailer and wheel the trailer off the lift and onto the convention floor. So that's the so there you go. That's the two time lapses from Worldcon and Comic Con. It shows you the amount of work that goes into it.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very much a far cry from, as you Frank said, table with flyers and a sign-up sheet on it, which is what we first started with. A few props.
Yep.
Yeah, you go back to looking at that, the early photographs that I put up when I was saying we were going to be doing this, and there's a couple of photographs up there, and God, David, you look so young in those photos. Like we all do, in fact, but you look so really young. You look at what we had.
About how the Cuchulain has impacted people, sort of on a personal level. I love hearing stories about how friendships have been made over the years and lasted. But I think it was Elaine Whelan I was talking to about one of our first events, and obviously even with the Teachers Club we still have to charge an entry fee, and during our sort of very first events we didn't have the Betty, the lovely Betty, taking money on the door as you come in, because we didn't have a big enough room.
Hey, Al's made it.
Had to go through the phone.
Very good.
So that suggestion worked. That's great. That's good. That's great. Good.
So initially, to raise money to cover the room costs, there was a little bucket I used to go around with, looking for people to pop in there a few bob so we could cover the room costs at the time. And apparently, I was as timid as a newborn lamb, shaking the bucket very nervously. Would you mind? It was actually
arms for the poor, arms for the poor.
So I would say it was Elaine that was sort of reminding me of how timid I used to be, and the difference it is now compared to standing up and speaking in front of a room full of 40, 50 people.
She's good at reminding people of stuff like that.
Night
Say
and
that
day.
again, Al?
She's good at reminding people of stuff like that, Dave.
Yeah. Well, she has a point, and I'd like to think someone's had that positive impact on not only myself, but many others.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I don't know who put that up. I'm just going to put that up again. I want to say hi. It's great to see someone from Puerto Rico joining us.
Puerto Rico, Yesenia. Hola. Hola, Yesenia Lopez, captain of the USS Longbow, right? Good to see you. Thanks for joining in.
Absolutely. Dave, I've heard that before from people saying that, they came along to the US Cuchulain, maybe felt a bit nervous, felt a little bit apprehensive, whether coming up to us at DCC. I think I remember Anthony telling me one time how he coming to one of our first parties, the first party he came along to, not sure what to expect, but leaving with a completely different, aspect of what he thought would be, and loving every minute of it. And I think this is a good point, because we've got so much, we've talked about so much, to bring Alan here because he's just joined us. Because Alan, you met us at the first Dublin Comic Con, wasn't it?
DCC 1, yeah. Signed up straight away and nervously attended the first Cuchulain get-together a few weeks later then.
And we were still upstairs at that stage, weren't we?
Still upstairs, yeah, in the back room upstairs. Yeah. I remember being very challenged by the quiz. It was a very tough quiz. I hadn't exercised.
I think everyone's challenged by the quiz unless Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think that quiz ended up being between you and Neil Stringer.
Yeah. Anyone going up against Neil Stringer, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. But actually, my quizzes tend to end up quite a lot in head-to-heads, because they ended up in a head-to-head against Phyllis in a quiz, and they ended up in a head-to-head against Rob. What's his surname?
Rob O'Connor.
Yeah, Rob O'Connor. Yeah, in another quiz. Yeah.
I think we've had a few things. We've had quick fire. We've had people up in front of the screens. We've the Picard Day. Do you remember we had 5 people up at the Picard Day, and we had to whittle it all down?
I remember quizzes where John will throw sweets at you.
I think that was
a quick fire.
Can we have another quiz where I throw things at people? I like those.
Plates. Remember, we
got it right.
The thing about it is, we're going to do that. Have the sweet first, and just throw the wrapper. Jesus, like what a waste throwing the full.
The wrapper will just fall. I mean, look.
That's the thing. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and John was throwing sweets at me. I had handfuls of sweets to deal with at the end.
Here, Al, have a mini roll.
But I remember the one where myself and Rob ended up in a head-to-head. The prize was for a autographed picture of I think it was the Voyager crew, and it was a tie-break question, and it ended up being a question about Peppa Pig. I just threw my hands up in the air. I was like, I have no answer for that. It's Peppa Pig. I've never watched it in my life.
Who asked the question about Peppa Pig?
It was Phyllis. Phyllis was our quiz master at the time.
Because her kiddie wink at the time was watching Peppa Pig.
And that's the thing. She hadn't expected to need a quiz, a tiebreaker question, so she hadn't prepared one. And it's like top of her head.
Well, here's a tiebreaker question, because it's going to ruin it for everybody, because I only saw it the other day. What? I'm going to ask this right now because it just came to my head, and I'll forget about it in a couple of weeks. What does the registration of the USS Defiant in Deep Space Nine refer to? Yeah. I only discovered this 2 days ago. Anybody in the comments? Does anyone want to put it in the comments? The registration of the USS Defiant, the DS9, has a reference. There's a reason for it. The numbers mean something. Does anybody know what that meaning is?
74205, is it?
74205.
Okay, somebody's come in with.
Yeah, Johnny Kenna got it. Johnny Kenna, the dude's kid. Yeah, it's Gene Roddenberry's son, Rob. It's his birthday. 74205. 5th of February, 1974. So there you go.
That's
He's 46. But yeah, so I never knew that 74205. But that's what the Defiance registration looks. So there you go. And at the next show, at the next event, that'll be one of the questions. See if you can remember.
So remember it.
That'll be the tiebreaker. If we need one, that'll be the tiebreaker. Yeah. So Alan, when you joined, you came along to DCC 1. You caught us there, and then went along nervously to the party, which was still upstairs, and you're still here with us. So we didn't frighten you too much then.
No, and I inherited the chief engineer's seat by default, because there was only me and Aidan Leonard at the time.
Yeah.
And now I think, is engineering the biggest department now, or?
But it seems to be ever growing, doesn't it? Absolutely.
It seems to be ever growing. There's a lot more yellow jackets.
A few months back, and security was the biggest department, but that also encompasses tactical, and you've had some recruits since then. So I'm not sure at the moment, but I think it's fairly close between yourself and yourself, Alan.
There was quite a large number at one stage.
There's going to be remember with the LCARS manifest that we did there not so long ago?
Yeah.
A year and a half ago. We're going to get that updated again soon. So Damien is on standby. God love him for that. So we'll see who exactly is the biggest department then.
So apparently, according to Sharon, the engineering is second only to security. So actually, with Sharon after making a comment there, I want to get on to the other branch of what we started as well with the Banshees and what led from that. But I just wanted to go back to Alan because you just joined us. So over the few years now that you've been with us, Al, what would you say is your biggest, what is it that means most to you about being a part of it?
It's the friendships, definitely the friendships. You come into the Cuchulain and it's primarily about Star Trek, but then it becomes about the friendships and the familial attitude we have. Everyone's welcome when they come in the door. No one's a stranger. Everyone gets kind of welcomed, and everybody takes time to go over and to welcome new faces and have a chat and get to know them. And it's just that. It's a bunch of people you can relax around. You can let your hair down. You can make a fool of yourself. I quite often have trying to dance these con dances, and it doesn't matter. It's just a bit of fun, and you don't, you're not self-conscious around the Cuchulain people. It's very good.
I think
no one's judging you on the shows that you watch or the geeky stuff that you collect, or if you want to sit and talk to everybody wearing a jumpsuit with fake patches on it,
This is it. Yeah, you'll always find someone to chat to, and there's some conversation that you can join in on, even if you haven't been there at the start of it, and then you have all of us standing around in the background, making sure things run smoothly and getting things organized, and hopefully people don't notice what goes on the periphery.
Yeah.
Reference to the disorganized chaos.
I would hope at this stage it gets less and less chaotic. I think there's more and more downtime for everybody these days.
That's definitely true. I think it also helps, like when the guys now, quite often, unless there's an event going on previous to what we are doing, we often have the table set up for us and we go in, and it's the case then of just, now you bring the bridge in or you bring the chair and get that set up for Artemis.
The fact that we're actively being sought out by other ventures, like people asking us to bring the bridge set here, there. We've been asked to bring it down to is it the Arklow Comic Con?
We were asked. Yeah, we were. Yes, yeah. There's an event in Enniscorthy or something, isn't it? We were asked.
Enniscorthy, someone, and Armagh, WorldCon.
Actually, I think it was WorldCon or DCC where we were asked to bring it over to Scotland.
No, we were at DCC or not DCC. We were at WorldCon, and somebody asked us, "Would you bring it to Glasgow?
Yeah, would you bring it overseas?" Yeah.
I mean,
and the thing that I remember about WorldCon was we had a team from Israel, and they were absolutely fascinated by the bridge setup and what.
Were they the ones that wanted to had to open up the astrogator, and they were more interested in what was inside it?
We had to open all the guts of it. They asked us to explain everything that was inside, and then they took high resolution photos of everything.
That's right.
I think you were talking to the astronauts at the time.
Right.
I think it was myself and Steve or myself and Robbie were just opening the panels, and these guys were just taking highly detailed photographs, and they had never thought of doing something like that.
Right.
And I think they were
nobody else has. I mean, not tooting my own horn, but nobody, that's the thing. Nobody else has done it. I mean, when Artemis, the guy who created Artemis, it's Thomas something. I think it's Thomas. I can't remember. Anyway, when he started building Artemis, he built it with an LCARS look, but then realized that he spent so much time building it, and people really, really, really wanted to use it, that he could actually, make some money back on his time spent on it. So that's why he stripped out the Star Trek look on it. But being the type of person that he was, that's why he left. The game was pretty much written in easy code in Notepad, so you can go in there and easily reference. Change sounds, change pictures, change images, change ships. The ships that we use are all from Bridge Commander 3D models, and they just slide in because basically you throw it into a folder and you put the name of the file in the code to reference where that lives and where it is, and it should pop up. I remember it took me a week of sitting there to kind of put things in the right place and get it referenced to make it a Star Trek thing. And I originally put it in LCARS, and then before the last two events, I did sit down and I redid all the graphics inside to be more of a classic series look to it. He built it that way to be on but you can buy it on a tablet. Version 2.4 still out there. It's a $5, plays on tablets and phones. It's great. And I've updated our system so that hopefully in the future, in the day where maybe the photo shoots start to die down, you can be there with your tablet in version 2.4 and log into our network, and you could have 5 people with tablets or phones playing one bridge. We can play on our bridge as another bridge. That's all. The playability is there. Nobody, like in the US where they do it, they'll have tablets for playing in rooms, and they have like 13 or 14 different bridges available, just curtained off in a room at the big giant events. But I haven't seen anyone else build an Artemis Star Trek console, as it were. Anyone who builds a console tends to build a screen accurate replica, a standalone replica. But my thing is always, as Frank said, bring the people in. We want them to stay. So let's put Artemis and the set in together as one. So it's not the Enterprise bridge; it's the Cuchulain bridge.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tell people when you're walking the queue at, say, DCC or Worldcon. I was telling people that we didn't build a static prop with pretty lights on it. We actually built a functioning console with stations. It doesn't just sit there and you take a lovely photo with it. It actually does something,
Yeah.
And it's interactive, and you can swap around the stations it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great idea.
We always inevitably end up talking about it. Sorry.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. The triplets are the prime example. They came along to DCC when we just had the console, before we had the captain's chair, and they just fell in love with that game. And they've been to all our parties since, and we see them every year at DCC. And they'll come along and they'll play the game. And they've had their photos on the bridge now. It's all about the game for them.
Mm-hmm. And those guys are lethal at that game.
They know what they're doing.
They are fantastic at that game.
Someday, if we can get 2 bridges going, I do want to challenge them to a war game situation. Getting those 3 together, and I think it's.
I think, John, even you might need to give them a handicap.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see that. I think it's Zoe.
It'd be like taking on a ship of. It'd be like taking on a ship of Binars.
Yeah, right.
I think they communicate telepathically.
I think it's Zoe that usually is the captain, and then Mariana and Aurora tend to fly the ship. So yeah, it'd be interesting to get a thing against them. Another thing about the bridge that's kind of a happy accident. And especially in regards to anybody who might say, that's not Star Trek stuff, so the X-52, the joystick and throttle that we use, which is my old joystick and throttle that I've had for many years, much as the show can be debated, the Shenzhou from Discovery actually uses the X-52 throttle on its console. So I used the X-52 first, but then Discovery followed. So the X-52 joystick and throttle is actually canon in the show. So there you go. Say that again, Dave.
So John sets the trend.
I set that trend. I set that trend.
And now we've made it into Cuchulain's made it into an official Star Trek novel. The Catherine Janeway autobiography.
Did we?
Speaking of canon,
page 74. If you need to check us out.
Did you get a copy, Alan? Did you?
I did. Yeah, I ordered it the very next day as soon as we were told. So yeah, I have it upstairs.
I wasn't told this. What's going on? Explain this to me. This is news.
There's the autobiographies, the autobiography of Captain Kirk and Captain Picard, and there's a new one called the autobiography of Catherine Janeway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the Cuchulain gets a mention in one of Janeway's early adventures.
Oh, really?
Do
tell, Al. Do tell. What adventure? Have you read it?
So I haven't read it. I've read the page. Basically, a crew member transfers off the ship that Cadet Janeway or Ensign Janeway is serving on, and then she gets moved up to that position then. So the person who leaves the ship goes to the Cuchulain to join us on a survey mission.
Oh, so who's this? So who's this canon within the books, Starfleet officer that we have
I
on
can't
board.
remember the name of the officer offhand, but it was very exciting to know that we
We'll have to
we
find
made
out.
it.
How did
into
we get in on that? Was that just the writer just named it, or do we know the writer? How did that happen?
the writer might have an Irish connection. She's Una McCormick. She's
Una!
written several.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, I
she's
met
written
Una.
several. Yeah.
I've met
Una
Una.
McCormick.
Una and my friend Jim Swallow were signing together at Destination.
There you go.
Yeah.
And she's written several Star Trek novels. And
that's right. I've met Una, and I was chatting to Una about, because I was there in the Cuchulain uniform. So, okay, that's nice to hear. Una actually took, because I was chatting away to Jim and Una at Destination a couple of years ago, and mentioned the Cuchulain and what we were doing.
Right.
So,
well, it's stuck with her.
That's great.
I love one of our books. So then the captain reached out to her then the next day after we found this out.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's
technically anything we do now is officially Star Trek canon.
Well, we're canon now. We're canon within the books. We're in the books now, so that's fantastic. Well done. Oh, this is wild. I'm going to buy that book now just because of that.
I'll have to pick that book.
Go straight to page 74, about midway down, and you'll see.
It's only one line, but that means
it's only one line. But there, we're
USS Cuchulain. That's enough.
Yeah,
that's it. Now, so we have to get copies of this now and give them out to everybody.
Absolutely. Just think of the thousands of people who are going to read that, who are going to go, "What's this USS Cuchulain?"
Yeah,
a ship I've never heard of.
We should have like.
What I would love to find out is who does the audiobook and how they pronounce USS Cuchulain.
Oh yeah, that's got to be checked out.
That's what I want to hear.
USS Cuchulain.
You get a free trial on Audible and check it out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
She spells it differently to us. She puts in the double N at the end.
She probably, as an author, looked up the proper spelling, because ours is actually one of the. It's what is ours? Which spelling is ours?
We did the one N.
Before. I did my best. I had many versions of translation.
That's okay. It turns up in different books and different things. In the Irish, it's CU fada. And it's a separate word. It's capital CU fada, capital CHULAINN. So we've made a kind of user-friendly version. Yeah,
because we were coming up with the name, and this was 2012, sort of pre as we are now, and I was banding around different names, and I remember. I was actually having a chat with my mum, because I think some of you might remember I brought my mum to one of the parties a few years back. She was instrumental in helping me kind of, as like a sounding board to throw ideas back and forth across to see what sounded good, see what kind of worked. And she was always playing like the devil's advocate of, okay, what's the average Joe on the street gonna say about this, and she actually shot down a lot of ideas, but that's a good thing. That's what she was there to do. When we were discussing names, I said I want it to have, I want it to be distinctly Irish. It's the first Irish chapter. I want it to be, sort of notably Irish, and obviously the story of Cuchulain is, it's a well-known Irish story.
So you chose a Northern Irish hero. Okay, I hear you. Yeah.
Yes, I did, but I know. But one of the things she said, playing devil's advocate, is, are people, non-Irish people going to be able to pronounce it, spell it? And at that stage, I've gone through so many different names and ideas, and I was just like, they'll get it. They'll have to get it. It's the name we're going with.
On that, like the hero from this neck of the woods that spent time in Howth, or Bin Other as it was at the time, would be Fionn McCool. Good luck getting the Americans or even the English. I have an English.
That was on.
I have an English coordinator I used to work for. He named his wife is Irish, so they named their son Fionn, but they call him Theon. So if we would have been the USS Fionn McCowell or something. I don't know. figure some bad way to say it.
I think we made Cuchulain user friendly for people not of Irish descent.
Yeah, I mean, John, I was going to say our good friend Marwan used to call us the USS Cuchulain.
Yeah, even the USS Cthulhu. Cthulhu. I can't even say Cthulhu right. But yeah, that's it.
That's brilliant. And like as you were saying there, John, like I mean, we're unique in what we did with that bridge. I think we were also the first to actually decide to design a particular com badge to many have followed us at this stage, but we very quickly went into the idea of creating a com badge that emphasized who we were. We were the first Irish club in Starfleet International, and we went along quite a few scenarios to what way we wanted the badge to be. Our first iteration ended up being slightly incorrect in that we went with the Guinness harp rather than the actual harp.
That was after that one.
But if anybody has one of those now, hold on to it. It's a collector's piece.
Collector's item. You can't get them anymore. Yeah.
That's right.
But,
there's a sneaky reference to that I've actually used. So Al, can you just lean in and show us your badge there?
Well, it'll come up backwards because
no, the other one. No, com badge. Show us the com badge. Yeah, no, it's backwards to you, but it's the right way for us. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Right. Now, Dave, you show us yours. All right. So the one Dave has on is the Guinness harp, and the Guinness harp facing direction, and then the one Al is wearing is the Irish state's direction of harp. And this is the thing, because when the Irish state was set up, they also had to go. They actually had to. There was a case versus Guinness, and Guinness won because the Irish state wanted the harp the way the Guinness harp is, and the only change, the change that they were allowed to do was to flip the harp to face the opposite direction. So Guinness actually had the harp first. But those eagle-eyed viewers, the poster that we have up behind Frank there, which harp is that?
Oh yes,
So don't tell anyone.
First to answer.
So so that's one of the reasons why that I think I was the one who kind of flagged on, guys, you're using the Guinness Brewery's harp and the Guinness Brewery's direction of facing of the harp, so that's actually their logo.
I like to think it was intentional.
They may sue us.
There's a possibility of a problem there, so let's just put it the way the state has it.
Please know, John Betty O'Brien also at every opportunity we were creating something with the logo on it, be the Cuchulain badge, and anytime inadvertently since then that the old style came on, they will always say wrong way, put it the other way around.
There's also the episode of Voyager, the 2 episodes in Voyager, Fairhaven, when Kate Mulgrew, when Captain Janeway goes into the pub, she looks at the harp sign and goes, "It's backwards." To which I'm like, how is it backwards? If it's one way, it's the state. If it's the other way, it's Guinness. So to what is she referring to?
She's clearly a Guinness drinker.
If she's a Guinness drinker. But the other thing as well is if you look at that sign, it's one way on one side of it and it's the other way on the other side of it. So whatever way you're looking at it, it's going to be the opposite. So is it just because she entered looked at the sign one way and went the harp's backwards? So go back and watch that one again and see what you think.
Whatever direction you're looking at the sign from, it's right.
Yeah, exactly. Look at it, and there's a Mirror Universe version as well.
I love the fact that thanks to Chris, Doug Drexler has one of our badges, and there's a nice photo of him holding it up beside his Oscar, going, "Check this out."
Yeah. Doug Drexler has one. George Takei and Brad. I gave one to Brad Takei. So they have one.
We gave one to Nichelle Nichols.
Robert Picardo.
Bob Picardo has one. Doug should have one. Doug
has one.
Max has one.
Does Johnny Frank have one?
Anson Mount and Ethan Peck have one.
Yeah. Anson was wearing his. Anson wore his all the rest.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the following night he was wearing his. Yeah. And so was Jenny, the astronaut. She wore.
Jeanette Epps wore hers on her jumpsuit. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
She also wore it at the award ceremony. She had it on the award ceremony as well, so that was cool.
I think we got one to Mac Groden chick as well, didn't we?
Did we send one?
That's right,
Mac
we did. Yeah.
I think when he met some of the crew pulling in Dublin, I think we gave him one.
Yeah, we did.
And Armin Shimmerman definitely had one.
And is that Kate Mulgrew got one? Sharon says she gave one to Kate. Yeah. Is that Kate Mulgrew?
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because I remember you were the whole day, the whole event, fretting about missing your time slot to see Kate.
Yeah. So Kate Mulgrew, who part-time actually lives in Galway.
That's right.
Yeah.
But and Grace, actually, considering all of that we've done, and we have the bridge, and it's between Armagh and DCC, people asking us to bring it out here, there, and everywhere, and we bring it to our parties now as well, and it just adds so much. And Grace was asking us, so what are we doing for this year? And obviously the bridge will still be there. But John, you've been really working away there at something new to add. I know you mentioned it on the Maker Chat, and you've mentioned it on Robbie's Marine Chat.
Yeah.
But to answer that question for this year, hopefully in August at DCC, you've been creating something that will work alongside the Marines for ourselves there, a kind of a flight school.
Yeah. So we're calling it the Puka Initiative.
Puka Initiative, yeah.
Puka Initiative. And you'll notice I'm wearing a flight suit. So most people who's watching the stream, who's still there, will know about it already. As you can see, I'm wearing a flight suit here, which I've got. I'm working on it during lockdown, so I haven't quite got everything. So I've got like mock-ups. These are paper mock-ups that I'm wearing right now of where things should go. So this is the first time I've actually kind of sat down and worn it for a period of time with all the bits and pieces on it. So the idea is that the chair that I built, anyone who's following the Maker Chat will see that the chair that I've built will be part of it. So we're going to have a VR experience, and it's going to be a practical flight exam system, 3 class ratings, class 1, 2, and 3. Each class will have a different practical exam. So this is the opposite. This is the opposite of the Starfleet Academy. Is what I'm trying to get away from. Is where you will actually do written exams. So what I would like is that you don't go through the academy to do the flight school to do written exams. You actually have to get in and you have to pilot a starship. And these are shuttlecraft. So this is not like piloting a large craft. This is piloting a shuttlecraft. And the idea is that if you have the flight status. So as an example from the Next Generation, the reason why Geordi got his job on the Enterprise was Geordi was actually doing the Jovian run, or he had to shuttle Picard somewhere, and Picard mentioned during the flight that something was off, and then the story goes that Geordi spent all night fixing what Picard had noticed, and then for the return flight he'd had it fixed, and Picard had noticed this, and he wanted that person as his chief engineer. So it's kind of that idea where not everybody serving on a starship has a full pilot's flight status rating. So, a scientist may not necessarily know how to fly a shuttlecraft. So that's what it is. Riker was an amazing shuttle pilot, Data, Geordi, all, even Picard could fly, but they'd all have to get their flight status and keep their flight rating. So myself and Robbie, with input from Lee Ray Thorne and Morgan Dean and some input from Steve Robb, we've come up with a system, and myself and Robbie are going to use the Elite Dangerous video game system as our basis. It's got the most real flight simulation software to do it. And we're going to use this chair that I nonsensically built last year, which is still... it's usable. It's ever so slightly not finished yet. I want to put a better base on it. And it's just from a post of Doug Drexler the other day, I realized the name of what I need to install in the arms, which is I need to put in 2 what's called busy boxes. So there's 2 busy boxes of graphics that I want to put in the arms, and that's why the design and the holes in the arms are there. So that's something else that will have to eventually go in and get updated and light up and stuff like that. So we'll see how we go. I've been building something else. Now, Sharon did ask me a minute ago, what is my call sign? So this is, if you pass your exams, this is the paper version, obviously. We will be getting stitched versions of these. This is our wings. So we've decided this is a senior flight wings. Class 1 and Class 2 wings will be silver. Class 3 will be gold, as in you're a senior pilot. And the Delta, as you can see, is based off of Red Squad. And then the wings are actually designed by Doug Drexler. We took a sheet of Doug Drexler's unused designs and retconned them into our flight status system. So that's our wings. And to begin with, we're going with a single wing, which is a very old way of doing it. Most militaries these days use a double wing situation. But to begin with, we'll in the future, for change and stuff like that, to keep things fresh, we'll go to a double eventually someday. But for now, we're using gold and silver on the wings, and this is your layout. So that's your layout, and that will sit there on your name tag. And then Morgan Dean, with the input of the rest of the lads who are the senior pilots on the Puka, helped us design the Puka patch, which we're very, very pleased with. So that's a Type 11 shuttle, and Morgan's managed to put a fantastic tribute to the Irish flag in there.
Wow.
So we got it, and the stitching was great. We managed to get the orange in there properly, and then because it's a squadron, so initially it was just one shuttle, but we've got 3 to show that it's a squadron. So that's what that is. So there you go. So that's the Puka. So that's something that's coming up for Comic Con. That's going to be in addition to the bridge. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome. I was really looking forward to seeing that in action.
So do you want to tell people what on average goes into setting up a Cuchulain display for Comic Con?
We've done that already, Al.
Did you?
We did the time lapses and all that stuff already. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So the Puka program, will that be also done our own one event as well as Comic Con?
Yes, yeah. Because the chair will be easier to bring than the entire bridge. I mean, that's the thing. When we had the question of, will we bring it to Glasgow or would we bring it to Enniscorthy? The problem with, and I've said it before on other streams, we would love to bring it anywhere, but the logistics are quite involved. I have to hook up the trailer. Whether if I'm working on a project or not, I'll have to go out to the storage space, load it all up. It's got 3 pallets plus all the flight cases. I've recently spent a few €100 of my own money to put everything into flight cases now. So it's not all in cardboard boxes anymore. All the bits and pieces have their own flight cases. And there's a big flight case trunk, which I sent a picture to the guys earlier on, that you could probably put 2 Sharons and a Tara in. So that's plus all the cables and the bits and pieces that go with that. So really, if we're going to go to an event with the bridge, it has to be a 2-day event where we can turn up on the Friday, build it, do it Saturday and Sunday, break it down Sunday night. So really, doing a 1-day event is very difficult. I believe that the Enniscorthy event, we couldn't get in until 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd have to be gone by 6 o'clock in the evening so that they can break the place down. So that really means that for a 3-4 hour setup for all of us to put the thing together, you don't really get anybody onto it till 2 o'clock. Yeah. And then by 4, by even 3, you have to start breaking it down because you have to be out of there 3 hours later. It takes 6 people 4 hours to put it together. It takes 4 people 6 hours. It takes 2 people however long. So that's multiplications of the depends on the size of the team. Who knows what to do? Whether I'm there or not. whether Stephen's there or not, or whether Robbie's there or not. The three of us are very much the people who know where everything goes. So in regards to all that, and you've got to have parking for the trailer for the whole time it's there, and that's a 25-foot rig, truck plus trailer. Some people have suggested, well, why don't you rent a van? Well, then you've got to pay to rent a van. You got to have someone insured to rent that van for the time that it's there. You got to load it in and out. The trailer has a ramp. A lot of vans don't have a ramp, so getting stuff in and out of the back of the van is a tough call. So yeah, if we were to go over to Glasgow, we'd really have to be going over for an entire week, and they'd have to pay for 6 people. You'd be talking about 2 or 3 cars or flights, plus the crew that have to build it, put it up, set it up, and hotel rooms and all that for us. Because the cost of us going to Glasgow on our own dime, it's it's going to end up being well over 1,000 just for me to bring the trailer onto a ferry and drive and petrol and blah 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 blah. So while we would love to be going other places with it, it's you got to consider freight, time, people, building it, all that type of stuff. So yeah, while we'd love to be able to be wherever we're called, we're a voluntary organization. We're not paid for what we do, and we can't be paid for what we do because it's an infringement of the rights of CBS Paramount.
Yeah.
So we have to do everything we do for free. So so you got to all of that has to be considered when we're going places. That's why we go to the planetarium. We do the planetarium. It's a weekend event. We love doing that, and we do DCC, and we did Worldcon when it was here. Frank, I think you should talk. I'm going to play this 30 seconds of the photos from the Banshees, which is also another connection to us.
Yeah, I was going to lead into that. So that long ago, but the Banshees, that's another aspect of what Cuchulain is, and that when we started, Alan and David, there's a Marine section to Starfleet, and we set up the 391st MSG, the Banshees. We kind of really quickly decided that this was going to be something that we'd use for outdoor activities. We stumbled across airsoft, and decided then that the Banshees would be the USS Cuchulain airsoft team. Again, that grew and grew, but with all the Cuchulain stuff that yourself and myself were doing out, we did really need someone else to sort of start looking after the Banshees, and we were really lucky with, Sharon and Anne and then Robbie taking that on board and running with it, and the Banshees has gone from strength to strength as a result. So it's fantastic to have both of those there, but you can see from the photographs there that there's an awful lot involved in what the Banshees do as well. They've become a really well-known airsoft team in various different sites now, thanks to Sharon and Robbie and the guys, the way they've been pushing it, encouraging the team, encouraging people to join in, and welcoming anybody who wants to take part, whether you've done it before, whether you're a seasoned airsofter, or whether you've never even tried it. You're always welcome to join in the Banshees and see what they're about, And now with the Puka, that's going to be another part of what Cuchulain is beside that, so really
another string to the hat.
Yeah, exactly. So really from where the Cuchulain started back in 2012, it's become something quite different and quite it's brilliant to see,
Frank, can I just say something there, just because there's something Al actually asked about the last time we spoke about the Puka. And because we have the Marine team, in regards to the kind of the role play element of our really cramped tiny ship of 250 people for a ship of 80, but within the role play.
We're busting at the seams.
Well, in my office, my office is in the belly of the ship in special operations. We've developed a transphasic generator that helps create 4 different interspatial areas within the ship. So everyone has a bunk. Everyone can start moving out of the nacelles and the Jeffries tube.
Yeah. I have to rotate people through the yeah, I have to rotate people through the transport to pattern buffers on a weekly basis.
No. We're using an interphasic generator now. So there's 4 instances of the ship.
That's before we install the generators. We have to keep them in flux.
So well, I mean, that was based on the technology taken from Scotty and the Janolan. But no, we've got an interphasic generator now, so everybody can have their own bunk. They don't have to sleep in Jeffries tubes.
I have been prodding the captain about getting a Luna class.
Yeah, Luna class would be nice, very nice. But I will talk about. Remind me about coming back to the design of the ship, because that was actually a decision in regards to changing from Sabre to Nova. There's a reason why I kind of advocated for the Nova coming in when we were still a smaller ship. But I'd just like to say, on the Puka element of it, so we have the Marines, and here's the story I said on the last stream. So the way I would see it is that you've got the Marines who are the ground pounders that you send into as the reaction force. But when the transporters don't work and you have to get them down to the ground, you need a fleet of pilots for large and small shuttlecrafts to get them down. And in such a way, you could imagine, say, myself, if Robbie and Sharon were leading a team of Marines, you'd have myself and Frank, or myself and Lee, running down. If you needed a large body and one ship going down, we'd all run down to the wave rider underneath the saucer section. Myself and the other pilot would jump into the flight seats. Everyone else is standing in the back. There's a big old lever that just undocks the ship. It drops, hits the atmosphere running. They come down. The back door opens. The troops troop off of it via Starship Troopers. That goes up, and we go flying up, and we start doing sorties and operations, observation operations in the atmosphere. That's the kind of idea of what's going on. But you also need to have pilots to go into scientific situations. Again, if you need to fly into an atmosphere, a gas giant or something like that, to get scans that the larger ship can't get into, I'd very much like the Puka to be less militaristic. It's more about the flying than the blowing things up. That's the kind of the opposition that I'd like for the Puka versus the Marines, because you want to go and shoot things and do the shooty. That's great. There's the Marines, there's the airsofting and stuff like that. The flight sim stuff, the Puka, I would very much prefer it to be it's about the flying, not the shooty.
Just one question about that, Jono.
Yeah.
Does Sharon know you refer to her Marines as ground pounders?
Yeah, well, that's what Marines are. They're the ground pounders. And that's a term that comes from Space Above and Beyond. But as opposed to that, because there is a certain element of shooty out of small starships within the system, and within the system of the Puka, you will have your class rating, and Frank has completed his class 1 flight rating. So Frank is a class 1 pilot now. He's actually done that before level 5 lockdown. However, Frank has not completed his his class 1. Exactly. There's atmospheric is part of it, Kirk. Yeah, that's right. Frank has not completed his class 1 battle rating, or his class 1 combat rating. That's what it's called. His class 1 combat rating. He hasn't completed that yet. So there is, through every class rating, there's three exams. There's 2-part flight exams and 1-part combat exam. And you might get a class rating to fly the ship, but that doesn't mean that you're actually rated to take it into a firefight. So I have actually brought that into the Puka as well. That is a thing in there. So there is an element of shooty. And as Frank will attest to, if you want to tell them now, Frank, there is a difference between flying the ship and flying the ship in combat. What's your experience being in that?
Oh, yeah. And when you're playing with VR, you've got the headset on. You're in the cockpit. You're in there, like, you know. And when you're flying through, say you're docking at a space station, or you're mining an asteroid, or you're doing any of that sort of stuff, you know, you get through that fine, and you'll work away, and you get quicker and you get faster as you practice. When you're flying as a fighter pilot and you're involved in combat, and suddenly your enemy isn't a stationary asteroid or a spinning space station. It's a fast-moving enemy ship that's flying past you. You know, and when you've got the headset on, and like they're going, oh, Jesus, you know, you've got to follow them along, like, and turn the ship around and watch your compass and your gauges to try and clarify where these guys are and where you're going to find them next. And that takes a bit of getting used to, I can tell you. You know, one thing I would say, the setup for the controller and all the rest of it is fantastic, and you know, it's so intuitive. It will take a little bit of getting used to. You know, you're going to tend to hit the wrong button occasionally, just because you're inexperienced.
Like flight assist, turning it on and off.
Yeah,
on and off,
exactly.
on and off.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You need flight assist. If you don't, if you accidentally turn it off, you will get spinning sensations and God knows what else as your ship goes out of control.
So to explain what what we're talking about there, flight assist is the computer controlled assistant of keeping the craft stable. If you turn off flight assist, you're going to fly the ship like a real spaceship. Like if you hit the wrong thruster at the wrong time, docking with the space station, you're going to spin out of control, and then to get back control, you're going to have to do exactly the opposite movements of every movement that the ship is doing to stabilize the ship again. So that's what flight control does. When you take your hand off the stick, put everything in neutral, the ship will stop with flight control on. If you have flight control off and you hit even, pitch down, the ship will keep pitching and go into a spin until you put on the opposite amount of pitch that you put in. If you put the engines on and pull them off, you're just going to keep going with inertia. So that's part of the thing, part of actually giving you the best experience of flying spaceship in space, docking at a space station that's rotating. Because as you come in, if the space station is rotating, you have to match its rotation for you to go through the letterbox through into the port to get into the space station itself. And then once you're in, when you stop, your landing pad could be underneath you, but you won't see it under the cockpit. So you have to figure out, you have to roll to look around the station and then descend. There's pitch, roll, yaw, engines on, forward, backwards, and then you've also got VTOL, left, right, strafe. So all of those axes of movements are there. Al, you were asking at some stage in the past about different wings, because one of the things we're also looking at is myself and the guys who started it up. We're creating another patch for ourselves called the Troublemakers, because all of us that helped create the Puka, we're all makers. So we've got Morgan working on another thing there. He's got it on the back burner of another patch for us. Al, you were saying, could there also be different wings? The reason why I brought up, it's science and the class ratings are separate for flight and combat. You asked about a bomber wing, but I would like to make the point of, I'd like the Puka to not become a militaristic, thing. It's all pew pew, so you could have other wings as well, not just, a first strike wing, a bomber wing, and all that type of, World War II type of stuff, so that's the way I'd like the Puka to kind of progress. I know, I'm not saying we won't do that, but I would like to suggest that there's other things in there as well as war.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, and very looking forward to just seeing in the comments there. I think it's Anne going. Who's doing? Oh, there you go. There's Frank. There's Frank in the chair. So, and before anybody asks, the rudder pedals, they can be programmed into Elite Dangerous. I've just been flying Elite Dangerous for so long. I put it into the rudder controls and the joystick. So I find actually the rudder controls a bit counterintuitive. I do use the rudder controls for Flight Simulator X or X-Plane or other flight simulators like that. And then the pad at the front there is actually, when you're not using it, it's actually a footrest. So that's pretty cool. But that's how the chair looks, and that's how you sit in it. So yeah, we're looking forward to bringing that out in the future. With technology advancing as it is, an Oculus Quest 2, which doesn't need any external sensors, because that's the Oculus Rift that needs 2 IR sensors. The Quest 2 has the sensors in the headset, so that means less cables for that running out. And you can also hook it up. The Quest 2 hooks up to a PC with a USB-C 5-meter optical cable these days. So I'm kind of hoping that gaming PC laptops will come down in price enough that at Comic Con we will have a laptop strapped to the back of the chair using the Quest 2, which means we don't have to bring a big fuck-off tower and have cables running everywhere. It should hopefully be in the future a self-contained unit with a laptop on the back, and then the laptop can be controlled by the flight instructor, and you can watch what the person's seeing on the back of the chair. So that's the hope for the future in regards to that. So sorry, I was about to say I was looking forward to who's this? Anne. Yeah, looking forward to your flight exams, Anne. Let's wonder how they're gonna go. Chris O'Flaherty says here, like the 2001 film. It's interesting, Chris. In one of the tutorials for Elite Dangerous, when you put on auto dock, they play the music from they play the suite from that played in 2001. I don't know the name of the classic score myself right now, but yes, if you play Elite Dangerous and you do the tutorial, when you put on auto dock, it plays the music from 2001 as you dock as per the scene in that movie. So excellent. Yeah. So there you go. Frank, was we always showed the Banshee stuff. Yeah, that was it. The only other thing I've got to show here was the building of the chair, which I'll just stick on, and you can.
Yeah. That's the after having the console there, first time there at DCC. Moved on to the chair, and that's when Actually, speaking of Anthony guys saying how much it would mention of being a part of Cuchulain, I remember you telling me, John, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry Lynch sitting in the chair for the first time.
Sitting in the chair for the first time, how much it meant to him, to sit in the captain's chair like that.
Jerry's out there. I think Jerry, are you in the chat there? Are you in the comments? I think Jerry was there, and he loves me telling the story. I told the story at the destination panel. Jerry's reaction was the very reason I built the chair, and you can see the chair as I built it. That's the very reason. As kids, we all wanted to sit in this. From the time when we were all at Time Warp 1 and 2, where there was a cardboard Next Generation set, and it was one of the most popular little corners of the thing. It's what we all want to do. The Madison, we talked about the Madison, the black bit there for so long. I actually had to sit for 2 months to figure out how to fucking build that. That was a tough one. I mean, I built the bridge in about a month. It took me 7 months to build the chair. So there, Jerry's there. So Jerry, yeah, never forget. It's ingrained in my head. Seeing Jerry exclaimed, "You come all the way up from Cork, good man, all the way up and driven all the way up from Cork, right?" And he was standing in front of it, and he just announced to all of us, and he didn't know any of us. And he went, "Lads, I've wanted to sit in this chair since I was 6." And Pompey sat down and had the biggest grin on his face. And Jerry, I'll never forget that reaction, because it's Jerry's reaction and the chap who's sitting in the chair behind you, Frank, in the poster there. Those are all the reasons. Actually, that chap there, yeah, he popped up. I don't know who he is. There's Doug and Derek. I don't know who that chap in the Monster Maroon was, but again, someone like himself. And there is no other chair. Nobody else has a chair that tours in Ireland at all, between the North and the Republic. No one else has a classic series chair that tours.
But it's amazing the reaction the chair generates among people.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You watch people queuing up at DCC and stuff like that, and you can see
Nothing
them.
wrong with my accent, Jerry. Sorry. Nothing wrong with my accent, boy.
But their eyes are just fixed on the chair, and it's like, and then when you get up and you go, okay, who's going to sit in the captain's chair? And then there's almost a mini squabble, you know. And then one of them will get. We obviously we make sure everyone gets a chance in the chair, but it's amazing the reaction of people to the chair.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, Jerry now is such an important part of the team. Like, you know, he's there all the time now at DCC, supporting, being part of the crew and all the rest of it. Like, you know, and that stemming from just coming along and seeing the chair and loving every minute of it. And like, there's so many aspects to the bridge and the chair running in Cuchulain. Like, Sharon, for example, creating all the tops, you know, the little, you know, making all the uniforms for people so that, you know, when they come along, they can stick on the jacket and they can stick on the gold or the red or the blue, you know, and sit into the chair and really absorb the immersion, you know.
But look at how giddy Ed Bourne got when he was allowed to sit in the chair for his documentary.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That guy just went crazy, and
he did.
You know, all the phrases started to come out, you know.
Absolutely, because one of the, you know, that show, I can't remember the name of the show he was doing, but one of the ads for it on the BBC was him.
Just Us.
It was Just Us, yeah.
Just Us, yeah.
That's right. It was Just Us.
The Cuchulain Bridge kind of ended up taking over the end of his documentary about these cosplayers.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And Anthony was brilliant because, you know, Ed Bourne was going through his routine. And he goes red alert, and Anthony was straight in there. What's your orders, Captain? You know? And Ed went back to him, like, you know what I mean? So fantastic, you know. It was a great experience, you know.
It's a pity that wasn't a downloadable file. I don't have it. But it's interesting. I'm just pulling the console or the picture from the time lapse up. And I was just interested to see, as you were saying, is like there's always a jostle to see who sits in the chair first. Well, I can tell you, in 2019 at Comic Con, the first person to sit in the chair, if I can pull it up here, was Frank. The first person to get into the chair.
Chair hog.
So, I mean, this is the great thing about a time lapse when you can pause it. You can go through it and you go, first person in the chair was Frank. The next, there's the Maclet. The next person in the chair was Alan. Alan was the next person. Then it was myself. It doesn't have to be anybody flying the ship. You just want to get into the chair.
Yeah,
you just do. You just want to sit in it, like, you know. That's it.
And then we had all the people. And then soon as the fans, you know, there's Tara and Alan at the front there. Stephen helping with the pictures, and as soon as that person left, there was a stormtrooper. Alan sat in it. We had a couple more people, and then soon as there was a bit of downtime, like all these people. There's me. I'm back in with Pete up there. All those, yeah. So I mean, let's see as we go. We died down. Look at this, the amount of people there. At Comic Con, and then as we scroll down to the end, there's the
triplets. Yeah.
So, I love the reaction of people. You know, when they sit in the chair, and then somebody at the console turns around and goes, "What's your orders, Captain?" You know, and the look of just
look at those faces
on their faces when they're asking me, and then they go that way, and you know,
look at those faces. They're just so happy that we get to.
Yeah, and then you respond to them with, you know, course laid in Captain I, and you know, and they love the bit of fantasy role play that comes along with it.
And there's myself in the captain's chair, but beside me is Kim Mulcahy, who is actually a skipper. So you know, you got to remember that our crew, we've got Robbie, who's actually a former giant ship navigator, and Kim, she like Robbie's driven the like the Pacific Princess style cruise liners, And then Kim, she's a skipper. So, so there's an actual, like, real life captains sailing the seas.
And who could forget, we had Captain Jack Sparrow steer the ship there for a while, command the ship for a while.
That was right. Jack was in there. There's Jerry in the captain's chair. I love seeing the Cuchulain uniform ensemble in there as when we're all together. And that's the other thing that we do. Like, I think this is something that I love, is that when we have one type of uniform all on the bridge at one time, it really gives a sense that we're that's a crew operating the ship.
Yeah,
because was it Sharon who organized that? There's a classic uniform day, there's a Cuchulain uniform day.
Yeah, that was I suggested the TOS uniform because they did look kind of the part when we were all we all wore TOS style uniforms. It was pretty dynamic.
Yeah. So there's those what are they, splicers? Are they from?
No, they're
or something.
They're from Silent Hill.
Silent Hill. Yeah.
So say it again.
One of those was a guy.
That's right. It's the same guy who's Captain Jack Sparrow.
That's it. He had an amazing pair of legs on him.
Yeah. So there's Anne. There's Anne Grace in her Galactica gear, captain in the ship. So, I mean, and this is the great thing about a time lapse. You can see all these different people. You can spot. There's a furry. There was a furry Captain Kirk.
And you can see the people with our uniforms on, our lone uniforms, down there at the front.
Yeah. So it's and then that's the other thing as well. Just as I noticed while I'm scrubbing through the video here, unlike the chair at Destination that Dennis built, I had to do one over on Dennis, and my chair spins. So I got a lazy Susan because Dennis had so little time to build his bridge, and he also built Uhura's station, Scotty's station. So he built all that, but his chair didn't spin. So that's the one upgrade that I made to our chair. Our chair spins. So
people do like to bounce in it.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's still ever so slightly a prop. Section 31 taken over. There we go, and then the Marines all taken over. So we could scrub through that. I'm watching it, and then the takedown. People, you have to. I love that. It's just like a council site. There's myself and Stephen working. And we've got, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think Al, is that you there in the military unit, gear?
Yes,
you're just like, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a well-oiled machine when it comes to taking it down.
So everyone's learning. Someone's asking there, who's that Facebook user? Is it still possible to get uniform? When I asked last year, there was an issue with the vendor. So that's a good question. You can. I think you took it down as an announcement, Frank. But
what was that, sorry?
Someone's asking, is it still possible to get the uniform, the Star Trek Online?
Yeah, it should still be there. Hang on, I'm just going to...
So I have 2 of them. This is my original, and this is the newer one. This is the same as Stephen O'Neill's one. Oh, it's the Ed Byrne thing. But this is a different material, slightly bigger neck on it. But these are the ones you're looking for. And we do have the vendor. It is on the Facebook page somewhere buried deep, because we took it. I think it was taken down as an announcement, but we did have a big discussion there only a few months ago in regards to getting our uniform. So yeah, this is the. So you're playing up the Ed Byrne clip. Will it play?
Can we give that person the name of the uniform? It's the Star Trek Online.
No, you got to be careful though, Al. This is the thing. There's a link to one seller out there on eBay that does the proper uniform, because there's so many out there that give you if you see it for 30 quid, it's going to be a piece of shit. If you see it for 40, if you see it for anything less than $100, you're not getting a good quality garment. You're getting a piece of crap. So there's the link of the person who's actually making the good quality cosplay Sky version. We do have it down on the page somewhere, but you're gonna have to go scrolling for a good while to find it. There was a big discussion on it there a few months ago. But the unfortunate thing is they'll only do red. They won't do any other divisions. They'll only do command division. That's they refuse to do anything more. But they do make it to your size. You feed them your sizes, and they will make it for you. It's not an off the rack thing, and that's why you should pay over $100 for it. I don't think it's going to play, Frank.
No, I'm giving up on it.
It's probably a StreamYard anti-sharing thing from the BBC or whatever, or Facebook or something. But yeah, is that the right one, Johnny? Johnny Kenna is posted a link. Is it? Johnny Kenna just posted a link in the chat there. Is that the one that we found a few months ago, Johnny? Because just doing a search on eBay could get you
the one we have on the post.
That's the one.
It's called. Is a final decision or final?
Yeah, it's final decision. That's what it's called. That's what it's called.
Yeah, final decision.
Yeah. No, but I will say there are many, many, many links with that description. Star Trek Online Final Decision. Yeah. Many, many, many links out there on eBay.
Yeah.
The actual people who do the quality original cosplay Sky version, that's it. So that's it, Johnny. Thank you for finding that for us, man. If that's the same people that I used for my second one. Because this one, the original one, as we've spoken about before, this started to pill. This black started to pill. So I wanted to get a new one. I did buy a new one. I got a piece of shit from someone on eBay. So finally, when Frank got his new one and he came out to me to show it to me, I went and got the same one that Frank has. So this is my second one. So you can see they're both the same, different material, but it's got lining. It's quality. It's a quality build for a cosplay thing. It's stitched properly. It's embezzled the right. It's got bezeling in the right place. It's got darting and all that type of stuff in the right place. So yeah, be very careful when you're buying on eBay that you're getting this particular quality of uniform that all the lads are wearing here. We're all wearing the same jacket of the same quality. CBS, not CBS, the company who make the game shut down Cosplay Sky, making this one probably because it was too popular. But yeah, it's very good quality. It's an amazing one.
Very good. Well, guys, I think we've been going for 2.5 hours, so our hour-long streams tend to go beyond that. So. Anybody want to make any last comments before we wrap it up? We got where we started from, and where we are now, and where we hope to be.
Just hopefully that we
all hope to be in DCC in August. Anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, we keep going onwards and upwards. That's the motto.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I tell you,
that's all we can do.
I tell you what. One final thing that I think is vital for the Cuchulain's continued existence. It's retention of our members, not just recruiting new members, but it's actually keeping the guys who've signed on with us. And I know Alan does a fantastic job of constantly reminding people who need to renew their membership and stuff like that. Yeah. And retention is a big thing, and thank you to everyone that's stayed with us through the course of this whole journey,
I think, Alan, you're completely right there. And I know we do kind of, we make a big deal out of the fact that we are one of the largest chapters, and that is, an amazing achievement for us. But we're only one of the largest chapters because we do have that retention of our members, and it's part of what the club is here for. We're not here to just recruit for the sake of being the largest club. We want the engagement, and Jono, your new project is a perfect example of how we try and encourage new ideas to really engage with the membership. And if anyone out there from anyone in the membership has an idea of something they think is fun or interesting, or they want to give it a go, and they're looking for people to do something with, throw it out there, because that's how these
contact the chief of staff.
airsoft.
That's
and
it. You know what I mean? So much stuff came from various different people's suggestions as well. You know, so
Yeah.
No, I can't remember who was suggested for the work. Who I think it might be Elaine. The culture days. I think it was Elaine suggested that first, was it, Alan? But
yeah. That was a thing that I think Elaine and Alan cooked up between them.
Yeah.
it
So
was a raging success.
yeah. Yeah. So like, if there's something that we haven't done that people would like to do, you know, as a group, as a fan group, you know, by all means, make suggestions. We're always willing to look at it and see if we can incorporate it into the social aspect of what the club is. You know, certainly when things get back to normal, you know, the movie nights will come back, the bowling nights will come back, our parties will come back, the culture days will come back. You know, we'll be at DCC, and hopefully, we'll work again with Emerald Garrison in Armagh or wherever. There'll be other things as well. So, you know, as regards retention, yeah, absolutely. It's all about continuing to do what we've been doing, being social, and showing them how much we have to offer. Aside from just joining us on the Facebook page, obviously that's a major thing of what we can do now at the moment because everything is online. But when we are back to normal, it's the social stuff that will keep people along with us. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, and it has been from the start.
I think, Frank, we're going on so long now. I think myself and Alan could talk about starships for a long time. So we'll come up against the Nova class versus Luna class versus other classes versus Saber class in a different one.
Oh,
absolutely. I mean, that can be another topic. That which reminds
me
to
say, anybody,
that reminds me, if anybody has any suggestions of what they'd like to hear us talk about on XO Chat Live, also, throw in suggestions there. Like, we're here, this is just about enabling people to chat online as well, because it's so hard to do. But if anybody has any topics that they'd like us to explore, by all means, let us know.
Contact any member of the command team.
Yeah, we're all there. Let us know, and we'll pick a day. The XO Chat Live is every second Sunday, and we'll be happy to add a topic if it's something you'd like to suggest.
And as you can see, with the length of time that we talk about stuff and the amount of information that we can throw at you, we're really wanting to hang out and chat ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much what it's about.
Oh, something I discovered this week that's fun for everybody who's watching, who's still out there. I only cottoned onto it, jumped into my algorithm on YouTube. Anybody out there who wants to watch something a little bit fun, College Humor started a couple of years ago, a TV show, it started as a 10-minute kind of internet thing. It's now gotten a longer format. It's called Actually.
Oh yes.
So go look if you don't know about Actually. It's a geeky game show along the street of everything that we were into, and I started watching from episode 1 today. Which was 10 minutes long, and but now I think it's a half-hour show. It's a lot more polished. But yeah, it's called Actually, because that's what our US compatriots usually say when they want to correct somebody over a piece of geeky knowledge that's incorrect. Actually, I think you'll find.
Yeah.
And
I've been listening to the
is Adam Ruins Everything.
Adam Ruins Everything. That's a good one. I know not that long, but actually,
I've
just
been
came
listening
across
to the Ship Talking podcast on Spotify. Those guys get some good guests. The most recent guest was Andrew Probert.
Oh, very good. Shit Talking, is it?
Ship Talking. Yeah.
Ship Talking. Okay.
Ship Talking.
Ship Talking.
The play on, the Star Trek play on the phrase.
I'll also recommend for those of us in lockdown, Fake Doctors, Real Friends with Zach Braff and Donald Faison. Excellent podcast, top podcast in the world, I think, at the moment. Amazing. Neil deGrasse Tyson, his podcast is great. And unfortunately, if you haven't been following it, but still untitled, the Adam Savage Project has just finished. So Adam is no longer doing that podcast with Norman Chan and their guests, which is unfortunate because that was this thing I used to leave on in the workshop, having Adam and Norm talking. And we met Norm and Frank and the tested team at Dragon Con a couple of years ago. So, and I don't know if you know this one, Frank. Frank Ippolita, the guy we met at Dragon Con, we were all chatting to him in uniform. He is the Mon Calamari in the Iron Sweater in The Mandalorian. That's who that is, because he made the head. That's another tidbit. And what was the final?
One other thing for anybody who has been or has heard of it but never been to SF Ball. Obviously, they're not running this year. They've set up a YouTube page. You go onto their website and you can, have a look at some of the events that they've done. They loaded up one of their geek challenges at the moment, University Challenge quizzes. They've got some of their. They put up a couple of YouTube channels of videos of the attendees dancing to Star Trekking, along with the two guests from Star Trek Continues, who were looking on and having quite a bit of fun with that, and a couple other things as well. So some SFB stuff there as well, which might be interesting to check out. I know, so you guys, or just myself and John, so far have been to SFB. Can't wait to get back. And,
Brett Jones, our good friend, and Brett, who's done a couple of instances of Maker Chat, is a big.
Yeah, he joined you for a couple of Maker Chats as well, didn't he? So
So that's the thing. So looking forward to the end of the year. Hopefully August will be a thing. I know on the schedule and with the delays here in the Republic of Ireland, my age group will probably not get vaccinated until September. So it puts Comic Con in question for me. If I get the vaccine before then and the world starts to settle down, I've been given my finish date on the current TV show run, which is the 26th of August. So it'll be real kickballic scramble for Comic Con Dublin if it happens for me, because we'll be shooting the final battle of the show that I work on in those weeks. So it's going to be a tough time. And
one more thing I want to say is,
what I just want to finish with, Frank, is if I can get there, Labor Day weekend in the United States is Dragon Con. And if anybody has never been to Dragon Con, I've only been once myself. It is the best thing in the world for geekdom. And I highly recommend anybody to look into it, look it up, because I am so desperate to go. If I can get there this year, I will go. It's in Atlanta. It's a Labor Day weekend every year when there's not a pandemic. So look that one up. That's another thing to look on in the future. Besides Star Trek Vegas, Dragon Con is the big one. Sorry, Frank.
No, it's grand. And on the Cuchulain itself, for anyone who's enjoyed this and enjoy chatting online, Q Forward, run by Anne Grace, runs every Wednesday and Saturday. On Wednesday, they discuss old episodes or movies, depending what it is that it has been watched the day before. And then, Saturday is just a bit of crack with games and various different things happening there. So Anne will always put up a post on the day, whether it's Wednesday or Saturday, to show you a link if you wish to join in on that and, just chat along with other fans. So there's that there as well. The next XO chat will be Sunday week, every 2 weeks. So, as I say, anybody have any suggestions of what you'd like us to discuss next, do let us know, and we'll incorporate that as well. So at 241.478, it's been another extended version of XO Chat Live tonight, guys. So thank you everybody who's hung with us from the beginning and who joined us halfway through or wherever you joined us. And guys, John, Dave, Alan, thanks so much for joining me for it. And that's all. We can wrap it up with that. So everybody, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper, guys. Great to see you all again,
guys.
Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.